Welcome back to another reaction stream for FPL ahead of Game Week 12. There's a lot to discuss because Game Week 11 has been one of the worst weeks and probably one of the worst lowest averages I've ever seen. But because of that, it means maybe relatively speaking, it isn't your worst ever week. So you have to think of it from that perspective. Ultimately, if you've got a green arrow this week, be very happy and take the points and move on. We've still got one more game tomorrow. Tottenham versus Chelsea. You would expect the likes of Son, Maddison to do well, and going into that game without Son, I'm expecting the worst, and I'm around 1.9 million at the moment. That will probably drop to 2 million after the substitutions are made, and also probably even further down if Maddison blanks and Son goes ballistic. So there's a lot of things that could still happen. If Son blanks and Maddison does well, I'll take it. It'll probably be a small red in the end, but 24 points. We're considering the start of the season I've already had, it's not, reassuring at all. At least in this game between Luton Town and Liverpool, Darwin Nunez blanked, missed some big chances, and Salah, who I didn't captain, was relatively quiet too. In the end, Salah captain has won, but only by 1 point. And I think those that went for Haaland are extremely unlucky, considering he got injured. That's the only reason he got subbed off at half-time. And Man City scored 6 goals past Bournemouth. So I think it was the right decision to captain Haaland, just not the right outcome. Let's get straight into your comments and questions. It might not be the longest stream we've ever done, but there's plenty of content headed your way anyway. UCL Fantasy, there's the best wildcard and limitless team videos out on the channel already for Matchday 4. Tomorrow, I'll be uploading the team selection video for Matchday 4 and also the deadline stream on Tuesday alongside all the usual FPL content heading into Game Week 12. El Padrino says, big up Dylan, my guy. Thank you very much for tuning in. Alex Mosley says, worst game week by far, 12 points, dropped from 400k to 1.4 million. Yeah, 12 points, of course. Look, all of us, maybe the odd exception here and there, who might have 30 plus points. You know, we've all done relatively badly, but 14 points, of course, is a blow and that rank drop. But that doesn't mean you have a bad team. It's just been a horrendous game week. Happy Human says, I used my free hit and did worse than my normal team. Well, to make you feel better, in UCL Fantasy, I also did something similar with the Limitless, where you have no budget restrictions, and my normal team outscored my Limitless. So I know that feeling is very frustrating, but it is what it is. Worst game week ever in my FPL career, 25 points with Maddison left to play. Yeah, I mean, similar to you, I've got one less point and Maddison, so hopefully he can get us to 30 plus, although I also wouldn't mind if Chelsea got a result and Maddison blanked, but that's another story. Bilal says, Mitchell scored 15 points from 27. I got this game week, still have Maddison and Son, so I hope for a green arrow. A few people in my mini league have Mitchell and he got 15 points and they've actually on around 40-50 points, and that's terrific considering this sort of game week. So it is what it is. Sometimes you need that luck to go your way. If Tsimikas started the game, he probably would have been subbed off around 60 minutes, banked a clean sheet, then gone off. That could have been a difference, but ultimately it was just poor for a lot of the biggest and best assets in the game. Sniper Master says, hi Dylan, terrible game week, only 240k red arrow. Well, you just said it there, only a 240k red arrow. It's not great, but it's also not the worst in the world. You also might have some players playing tomorrow. 1.8 million rank, 19 points to top 1 million. Yeah, it's still possible to get top 500k, trust me. You just need that one big week, I think, and ultimately, you know, you can get back on track from Game Week 12 onwards. The big concern, though, is when you look at Game Week 13, that's the one week where we all looked at it and thought, some really poor fixtures for a lot of big assets. That's the week that you would have expected 20, 30 points from, not in Game Week 11. I thought it would be lower scoring compared to, let's say, Game Week 10 or Game Week 9, but not to this extent. I was still hoping and expecting for at least 50, but that's the way the cookie crumbles. Alex says, got 37. That's decent in my opinion. So far with Son still to go. Yeah, I think 40 plus is what you're really looking for. Got lucky with Mitchell and Gordon. Yeah, I honestly, anything about Gordon, I really don't want to talk about that. I made my feelings clear on that yesterday. Of course, for those that have him, enjoy the points, but yeah, I think that was very lucky. Mitchell, maybe not so much, to be fair. It was obviously a good goal, 15 points, a clean sheet, and I think a lot of us anticipated a clean sheet against Burnley. Would you hold Tsimikas after today? Yeah, I still would. Some Liverpool fans were saying it. Liverpool didn't have enough width in that game. And as much as Joe Gomez might be better defensively, he doesn't offer that outlet in the fullback position. So Tsimikas could come back in. But I even said this before I bought Tsimikas and I recommended him. I said to people, don't be surprised if a Joe Gomez or even Endo comes in from time to time. And that's what happened. When Tsimikas played the other day, the full 90 in the Carabao Cup, you kind of feared the worst there. Sniper Master also says, my team for next game week is Ariola, Cash, Gabriel, Tsimikas, Salah, Captain, Son, Diaby, Saka, Gordon, Haaland, Alvarez, bench, Turner, Gay, Kabore, Archer. In the bank, what would you do? So yeah, you got 2 free transfers, you don't want to burn that naturally. Just like with myself, I think your biggest weakness is the goalkeeper. So Turner lost a spot, which we kept talking about for weeks. It finally happened. And they kept a clean sheet against Aston Villa. So yeah, I think Turner's the one to upgrade. You've only got 0.3 million to do that. My personal preference would be to go to Johnston or Raya. I'd go to one of those goalkeepers. And in order to do that, you would have to downgrade another player. And I'm looking at your team overall. What could you do? Yeah, in terms of downgrades, it will be difficult. I'd still keep Son if possible, Saka as well, and Salah. So you're mainly looking at Diaby potentially. He's someone you could downgrade, but he is facing Fulham, so that's not ideal. I think, oddly enough, if I were to make a downgrade, it would possibly be Tsimikas or Cash. Having said that, I still like Cash up until Gameweek 15 and Tsimikas beyond. I still think he'll come back into the team. So that's something to consider for you, Sniper Master. Upgrade Turner to one of Johnston or Raya, and in order to do that, downgrade one of your defenders like Cash, maybe Gabriel if you want, or Tsimikas. My transfer plans are Alvarez to Nketiah, Darwin. Yeah, that's also not a bad shout. The thing with Nketiah, though, is, look, I've said this before, he's decent in these games against Burnley, Sheffield United. You know, he could be really good there, but he's not someone you can trust in the bigger games. I've said this all along. I want him to do well, of course, at that price as well. He's obviously very enticing, and I don't mind him against Burnley, but there are reports that Gabriel Jesus could be back sooner than expected, and once he is, he's going to get back into the side because he makes Arsenal play better. There's a free-flowing football there in the forward line, and he connects very well with Martinelli and Saka. So, yeah, as a one-week punt, I don't mind Nketiah at all, and that could also allow you to upgrade your goalkeeper, which I discussed already. Happy Human says, if I didn't free hit, I would have had Onana, Trippier, Gordon, Bowen, Matoma, Archer. Yeah, that's unlucky. To be fair with Archer, would you have started him? That's my question. If so, then yeah, that's very unlucky. I think with Gordon, once again, maybe an element of bias there in my opinion, but I genuinely think you're very hard done by there because it shouldn't have stood. Trippier, fair enough. I think a 0-0 would have been a fair result yesterday. Onana as well. I mean, I thought United would win, but I still expected Fulham to score. Then again, though, Fulham have scored 9 goals all season. So, yeah, Bowen as well against Brentford. I was talking to people. I still would hold him, but on a free hit, I don't think I would have had any of those players, even Trippier, who's one of the best defenders in the game. So, yeah, to be honest, when I saw some people talk about the free hit, it looked really good on paper, and sometimes these things happen. Hopefully, you can make up for it next week. Bilal says, I have both Maddison and Son. Should I go Maddison to Saka for next week? I personally would still. Now, Saka hasn't been great in the last couple of weeks. He's been having some injury problems. He just came back, but I think he'll come back to his best against Burnley and in the weeks to come. Arsenal have a good fixture run over the next 10 to 15 game weeks, one of the best in the league. So I do like that move. Having said that, Maddison is still good. The only reason I'd suggest that move is because you have Son already, and Spurs have some more difficult fixtures where I would expect them to slip up a little bit. So I would make that move. It's not necessary, and you might have other fires to put out. And also consider, as I've said to other people already in this stream, maybe look at upgrading your goalkeeper like Turner, and you can go up to Raya or Johnston. I was very bad on defence. Do you think it's good to get in my team Harry Maguire and Wan-Bissaka? I don't mind having one of them as a cheap option, but as I've said before, Maguire and all these options, they're not players I would trust in the long term, and it's really just for budget. Now, one thing I could do in order to make that move of, let's say, Turner to Raya, I could actually do Anderson down to Maguire. I could make that move. I wouldn't go for a double up. Definitely not. One maximum. Maguire at 4.2 million, absolutely fine. But apart from the next 2 game weeks, I'm not really too keen on Man United assets, especially in the defence. I had an unlucky week. I'm going to take out Haaland and James Ward-Prowse. Look, I know Haaland was very disappointing this week, but I'm not sure I would do that. James Ward-Prowse, fair enough. I talked about this 2 weeks ago. I had in my team, very disappointed with his new positioning in a deeper role, and I just don't really trust him FPL-wise now. You're really relying on set pieces. So I would sell James Ward-Prowse, no doubt about that. Gordon's a really good option to replace him. Hwang Hee-chan too. But in terms of Haaland, I'd still keep him, to be honest, and let's keep an eye out for any updates. If he's out for the Chelsea game, then yeah, fair enough, you could sell him, then bring him back for Gameweek 16, but I still think he'll do well in the next couple of weeks, and Bournemouth was just very unlucky. If good things get Villa players, for example, John McGinn, to be honest with Villa, I wouldn't be buying players right now from their ranks. I do like Diaby, Watkins and Cash against Fulham. Douglas Luiz is also decent in home games, but Yeah, I wouldn't buy McGinn, to be honest, and I wouldn't be looking to actively buy Aston Villa assets because in Game Week 13 it's Tottenham away, in Game Week 15 it's Man City, and the fixtures afterwards are terrible. What do you think about getting into my team, Basuma? No, he's a good player, he's having a really good season for Spurs, but he's not going to get you goals or assists. If you want Spurs players, Son, Maddison, Pedro Porro are the best, Romero's also good, Vicario, but I wouldn't go for options like Basuma. Yeah, I completely agree, Happy Human. Of course, there might be the odd week where he hauls, but it's going to be few and far between. There he is, Count Dooku. Yeah, we all need a Count Dooku in our lives. Well, maybe not, that's just stupid. I think, well, how many points did he get? 22. At least I outscored Doku, that's good. That's really good, it made me feel better. How's it going? All good, Tezo, what about you? What do you think to sell Burn? Well, of course, he's at 50% chance of playing. He had a back injury, was subbed off at half-time against Arsenal. FPL Justice in a way, he should have been booked before that. Yeah, with Burn, I'd probably keep for now. Wait for more updates because if he's available, I'd love to play him against Bournemouth. That was the original plan. And I would actually start Lascelles and Burn in my own team selection, which I'll discuss in the team selection video later this week. 33 points for me, Son to go. That's not too bad. I'd imagine that's a green arrow, unless you're at a really competitive rank, but I think that's decent. My free hit defense got a grand total of 1 point. I mean, that's just bad luck, to be quite frank. And look, Dawson made sense. I'm surprised he didn't go for 8 Nuri, but either way, same result. Simicas, that benching was, I want to say completely unexpected, but it did throw us off, I think, because I think the only reason why I'd say it's not completely unexpected is because he played 90 minutes the other day. But yeah, we discussed this a few weeks ago. Joe Gomez and Endo could always play as the left back from time to time. As for Cash, I thought Forest would score, but I didn't expect Cash to be subbed out around 58 minutes and concede 2 goals before that, so it was just a disaster. Doggy will play. I mean, a lot of people I've seen don't think he will. I personally still think he will be available, but I could be wrong, of course. And ultimately with Doggy, I said this with people before, I'd have probably sold just because he was still a doubt heading into Game Week 11. 30 points for Doggy and Maddison to go. That's decent, and I'm not sure you have on your bench, but Maddison should be enough anyway. Another W for some non-Haaland users. Yeah, but this week is a bit of a freakish outlier, in my opinion. You know, Haaland blanked in a 6-0 win, a 6-1 win, sorry, and he also was subbed out at half-time. And generally, most of the big assets like Salah, Saka, etc. have blanked. 32 with 2 to go. Yeah, exactly. That's not too bad, all things considered. 49 points, that's really good. Bench boost in Game Week 12. All the big hitters, including Johnston, planned this 4 weeks ago. Good luck with that. Let me know how it goes. I'm probably looking to bench boost later in the season. Actually, a bench boost this week would have been great. I've got Lascelles and Archer, both of 9 pointers on my bench. Best midfielder to bring next fixture. I think Gordon's up there against Bournemouth, but I think more importantly, Saka. I think Saka's right up there in terms of midfielders. Simicas for me is better to own than Gabriel while he plays. Yeah, I agree, but Simicas does play City very soon, and in terms of this week, I would give Arsenal a better chance of a clean sheet than Liverpool, but I do agree with you actually overall. Trippier's really a W. Yeah, I mean, he is a good option, but there are still not the greatest set of fixtures coming up, and ultimately you can't cover Trippier, Son, and all these other options like Salah, Haaland, etc., which also does play a part into the non-Haaland debate. Bruno Fernandes is great, 11 of my 24 with 3 Spurs. Well, he hasn't been great this season, but he is capable of these big returns. He's got a great record against Fulham, scored a brace against them in the FA Cup last season, scored in Game Week 38, I think it was, of the last campaign too, so he does like playing against them. Should I hold Neto? Well, he's out for the next couple of weeks. I know he's technically out for 1 more game week, and then there's the international break. He could be back for Game Week 13, but I probably would sell him, as I discussed in the last transfer tips video. Bernardo Silva, no, not for me. There's going to be the odd game, like against Bournemouth, where he gets maybe 11 plus points, and in this case I think he got 14, but he's not someone I'd recommend. I'd still rather go for Foden, but more importantly, Haaland and Alvarez are the best ways of covering City offensively, and with Doku, his minutes are very inconsistent, so it will be very typical if people buy him now and then he's benched in Game Week 12. Yeah, that's good. 30 points and 2 Spurs players to go. Yeah, I think 40 plus points is possible. Greg says 17 points with Boros, Son and Maddison to go. That's not too bad. You'll definitely outscore me by the end, that's for sure. And it could be a green arrow in the end, but you would need some big returns there. So good luck, even though I'm hoping that they all blank. Already dropped to 183k from a Game Week 10 rank of 85k. But still, all things considered, it's a decent rank. It's not great, it's not ideal, but just think of it this way. You are in a decent position and you got 17 points, yet the red arrow is only by 98,000 places. It's not that bad. So annoying, I don't have Haaland, but Salah, Trent and Darwin didn't come through. Yeah, it was a big opportunity, I think, for those without Haaland, you know, to really make up some huge gains this week. And yeah, I think the Liverpool players were very... well, just they were a big letdown this week, and I'm quite happy about it, actually. Even though I have Salah, I wanted him to blank, and I'm happy he did. Weiseng says, almost got Gabriel from -4 last game week, and the same situation with Tsimikas. Yeah, it's just unlucky for those that did both transfers. I actually bought Tsimikas for one of my family members' team, and look what happened. Also not going for Saka. You don't need to go for Saka. I've always said this. He's not essential, but I think he's one of the best midfielders from Game Week 12 onwards, and also in the upcoming game week specifically. Can I still get more than 500k rank? Yeah, like I said before, you can. I've answered that. Crazy how Liverpool found their new Torres. Look, Darwin, he's young, he's a handful. On his day, he's brilliant, but sometimes he does struggle in front of goal. Martinelli struggled yesterday. Not just Martinelli, though. Saka as well. You know, people would obviously say Havertz was terrible, but I thought Havertz was better than Martinelli and Saka. And overall, yeah, I don't like the signing of Havertz, but I do think he showed some signs in the last couple of games where he's driving, showing a bit more intensity and tenacity. Simple things you'd expect from a footballer, of course, but I am seeing signs where you could see some improvement in the future, but of course, it needs to be very soon if Arsenal want to keep challenging. Not a fan of keeper transfers. Yeah, fair enough, it's up to you, but I just see it as your weak link in your team, and it could be a way of gaining on those with that kind of goalkeeper combination. Ariel is not too bad against Forest, but I think Forest will score. Early thoughts on Alvarez to Nketiah. As a one-week punt, I don't mind it, and you can always buy Alvarez back from Game Week 16 onwards, but I don't trust Nketiah long-term, and once Jesus is back, forget about Nketiah, in my opinion. Happy Human says, Archer's on my bench pretty much every game week, but with a doggy and Botman out, I actually would have started him. Oh, that's fair enough. Yeah, that's really unlucky, though, and I think that's kind of the big definition for your game week, so you just got to take on the chin and move on. What a mess this week. I have similar team to you, possibly Haaland, Burn, Cash injured, Gabriel a doubt if he'll get benched next week, what to do. I don't think Gabriel will be benched, I said this before, and especially after back-to-back losses, I don't think Arteta will take liberties with the team selection. I think it will go strong, Arsenal will respond, and I think they should get a big win. So I wouldn't be concerned about Gabriel. The others, yeah, fair enough. I personally think Haaland will be available for Chelsea. I think City will do everything possible for him to be available. As for Burn, that's more of a 50-50. And Cash, let's wait and see for any more updates. That TPS player says, should I do Haaland to Callum Wilson and James Ward-Prowse to Saka for a -4? I personally wouldn't, but I can see why you're looking to do it. Wilson with a plum fixture and Saka can do really well. Huge upgrade on James Ward-Prowse, but I'd only do that if Haaland's ruled out or Game Week 12, because I personally think Haaland could score a similar amount or outscore Callum Wilson this week. But look, maybe don't take my word for it in terms of Haaland, because for most scenarios, I'd say hold him. Suggesting Johnston in for Turner instead of Tsimikas move, another masterclass from you. Well, I appreciate it. Ultimately, you did the decision, and I did like the Tsimikas move as well, but yeah, I'm probably better recommending stuff than heeding my own advice and doing well, but I'm glad that it helped you, and hopefully you can do well in the future as well. Johnston's a really good shout for the next 5 game weeks. Afterwards, maybe not the best, but enjoy the points while they come. Never mind, Dylan, I have 0.5 million in the bank, so maybe I could do Turner to Johnston, but saying that, I don't want Alvarez, and it would be nice to have 2 free transfers. I get that, and that's the reason why I didn't go for Foden in the end. I almost did Saka to Foden. Would have been a gain of 4 points this week, but I'm actually happy I didn't do it. And I can see your dilemma, but yeah, I think Turner to Johnston's a great upgrade. You already have Gay, though, if I'm not mistaken, so yeah, maybe you'd want to diversify, but honestly, I don't think that's a big problem. Cash is a flop. Benched him since I got him, and the 1 week I thought he had a chance, he blanked. To be honest, though, I'll be like, I'm not even saying this in retrospect or in hindsight. I genuinely thought Forest would score. My prediction was 1-1 between Forest and Villa. I might have changed that to 2-1 in the deadline stream, but ultimately I thought they'd concede, and it is what it is. Villa had a big opportunity to leapfrog Arsenal in the table, and yeah, Villa are better at home, both defensively and just overall record. They've got the best home record in the league so far. Away from home, they're a bit suspect, it looks like. Missed the deadline, played Trippier, Lascelles and a doggy, Kabore in the bench. Well, enjoy the points then. That's a good stroke of luck there, and one of the few examples where missing the deadline can work in your favour. Twisted Parky says Areola, Cash, Tsimikas, Trippier, Son, Salah. Bowen, Saka, Gordon, Alvarez, Haaland, Turner, Lamptey, Archer, Burn. Who's out? Alvarez, Burn if injured. Yeah, if Burn's injured, I'd sell him. The question is, who would you go to? Maybe Gabriel, if you're willing to take that risk. I think he'll start personally. Once again, you're another one with Areola and Turner. I would consider upgrading one of them. So yeah, even Lascelles, by the way, is a great shout. I really think that. And I'm not saying that because he got 9 points against Arsenal. I said it before that deadline. You know, he's a good long-term transfer so long as Botman is out. One of those weird FPL weeks again, a bit boring, and it looks like I'm burning a transfer as the team is fine. Yeah. Look, with FPL, the one shining light is that the captaincy is finally becoming a debate again. Salah, Haaland, Son. You've got plenty of options. Even next week, you've got Saka. But yeah, I'm in a similar situation, but I'm looking to use those transfers still, and I'm looking to upgrade my goalkeepers. That does seem boring, but you know, how often do you change a goalkeeper or it looks like a priority? So I'll take it in a positive sense, and I'm just hoping for some more green arrows. This is my first red since the wild card. Let's wait and see what Maddison can do for me tomorrow, but I think Son is just going to bury my rank on Monday. Having made it into the top 100k from 1.2 million with Salah captain left to play, this is how I imagined it to turn out. Yeah, but look, with Salah, it was a bit of a captaincy flop, but still a 1 point gain over those that went for Haaland. I think it's just a bit of a freakish week. Doku had more points this game week than in the other 10, exactly. And Doku's underlying numbers are nothing special. He's a quality player, great dribbler, stats on everything, but I think buying him could be a big mistake. I'm on 25 points with Cole Palmer to go. Yeah, I would be a bit less hopeful there, to be quite honest with you. Good luck, by the way. I wouldn't mind if Palmer did really well. Maddison blanked and you got more points than me. But I think Spurs are the big favourites tomorrow. Let's wait and see how it all pans out. Should I sell Cash for Lascelles? I'm not completely against that, but Cash is facing Fulham and Bournemouth in the next 3 game weeks. I think there's one big return left in that time frame. You'd obviously bench him against Tottenham on paper. I'd probably keep Cash for now, but Lascelles is definitely a good transfer in isolation. I really like Lascelles at that price and below. Which serious FPL manager has Doku? I don't know, mate, but 2 people in my mini league just behind me have Doku, and they've seriously closed the gap. So you got to laugh about it, to be honest. I knew Villa would find Forest tough. I went 1-1. Yeah, I'll be surprised. No, I'll be honest. I was surprised that Forest won it, but Forest getting a result, you know, I was expecting a draw as well originally. So yeah, a lot of our predictions were similar actually for game week 11. Yeah, 2 free transfers: Alvarez to Nketiah or Nunes. If you're asking me for game week 12 specifically, I'd rather have Nketiah. Long term, Darwin Nunez is a much better option than Nketiah. I can't stress that enough. So just really depends what you're looking to do. Do you want a 1 week punt? If so, Nketiah is the guy. And Man United defence, yeah, Wan-Bissaka, Maguire, fine. And I also think Wan-Bissaka does make a difference defensively, although on the ball he's still not the greatest. But yeah, I think Alvarez to Nketiah for a 1 week punt, I don't mind that at all. It is worth mentioning, though, that Alvarez scored against Chelsea in their last meeting. 40 points and free to go, Son, Maddison and Romero. That is a good week. And if you get 50-60, then you're going to be laughing. Coopsy Coop says, next game week, I have to bench 2 of Cash, Tsimikas, Lascelles, Maguire and Gabriel. I'd bench Tsimikas there, and it's not because of what happened today. I just think he's got the least amount of chance of a clean sheet. I think Lascelles and Gabriel have to start. Then it's between Cash and Maguire, and I'd probably start Cash for the attacking potential, to be honest. So, yeah, I'd probably bench Tsimikas and Maguire. I've said Luton are no longer the first month version of them. But also, throughout the whole season, they've been decent at home. They might have lost a lot of the games, but they barely lose. They lose by 1 goal maximum. So, yeah, that's another reason why I went for Haaland over Salah captain. But I still thought the worst, and I thought Salah would go ballistic today. Do you think Raya is nailed? Yeah, I don't really see that as an issue. He's a goalkeeper, and Ramsdale only plays in the Carabao, which Arsenal are out of already, and the FA Cup. So I have no concerns about that. Arteta is stubborn. Long term, I think it will work, this Raya situation, but yeah, I think he'll be number 1 still. It'd be a huge surprise to me if Ramsdale started against Sevilla or against Burnley. Isaac says, my team is Areola, Turner, Lamptey, Trippier, Cash, Soufal, Doggy, Saka, Salah, Maddison, Matoma, Palmer, Edouard, Watkins and Haaland. 0 in the bank. Yeah, look, I thought Edouard was a good punt for Game Week 11, but I don't like him long term, even with these fixtures coming up. I think, like I said for a lot of people already, the goalkeepers could be improved. Areola's decent for the next couple of weeks, but Turner lost his spot. Not a great option anyway. I'd look to upgrade him if possible. In order to do that, you need to make a downgrade elsewhere. What I would consider for you is a Doggy to Lascelles, especially if a Doggy's still out tomorrow, and then use those funds to upgrade Turner to Raya or Johnston. How about Eze instead of Neto? Not a bad shout. Look, I like Eze as a player. FPL-wise, he was really good last season. Not so much this campaign, but he's back, got the assist. With Eze, though, I think there are better options elsewhere. I think Gordon and Hwang Hee-chan are my favourites around that price and below. What happened to Odegaard? I think he just got an injury. Big shame because he looked really good against West Ham off the bench, and I think Odegaard is Arsenal's best player probably, along with Saka. So it was a big miss, and I ultimately think Arsenal did very well considering the players they were missing and what happened yesterday. But having no Odegaard party, that's already two big misses. No Xhaka, of course, so that's a completely different complexion of the midfield. Gabriel Jesus, not there up front. I think he's a much better player than Nketiah. I can't stress that enough. So I think once these players come back, it will make a big impact to Arsenal, and they should still win against Burnley without them. Honestly, Spurs ain't keeping a clean sheet versus Chelsea. Just cut your losses and go catch price rising on Doku and sell Haaland. But Haaland will outscore Doku by an infinite amount of points, to be honest, from now until the end of the season. If you are doing that kind of reverse psychology, then I understand your game, and fair enough. But if we're speaking seriously, there's no chance that is going to pay off. This was a week the clueless profited. That's probably the best way to sum it up. That's a perfect title. I can't really say much better than that. Start cash or Simicast? I'd start cash. 28 points with Son to go. Decent. Yeah, I think a green arrow is possible for you. Good luck. Wait till 1 million by Chong this week. Luton deserve that tough. That, though, fought so hard. Yeah, so close to a famous win. I expected Liverpool to score as soon as I saw 8 minutes on the board. But, you know, quite happy for Diaz to score. I know, obviously, with Liverpool, I wanted them to drop points and stuff. But it was good for Diaz to score. How it was a week where guys who watch games instead of having template picks profited. Why does McAllister still play in the Liverpool starting 11? To be honest, though, and look, I'm an Argentine, so you could say I'm biased, but McAllister's playing in this defensive midfield role in most games. That's not his best position. Look at him for Argentina, playing as the left central midfielder in a box-to-box role. Look at him for Brighton as well. Yeah, he can play in a defensive midfield role, but more importantly with a pivot next to him like Caicedo. McAllister as the lone defensive midfielder is not getting the best out of him, so I think that's something where Liverpool could improve. Even playing Endo there and then playing Szoboszlai and McAllister as the other midfielders, I think that would be the best for Liverpool. They'll concede fewer goals and they'll also have more of a balance in that midfield. But look, I'm just speculating, it's just my opinion, and ultimately Klopp knows what he's doing. But in my opinion, McAllister isn't being played in his best position. Simple as that. I have Bernardo Silva and they paid me a clause. You can tell me a replacement for him. Fair enough. Well, again, Jared Bowen, I think, is a great option at that price and below. Gordon, Hwang Hee-chan, the same names I said from the deadline, the same names as yesterday. I've seen the Leverkusen's Havertz. Yeah, wait, sorry, I don't even know what YTD is. My mind is blank, but yeah, they've got Wirtz right now. He's doing a really good job. Havertz was good at Leverkusen, but it's been a while since he reached that level. My bench has more points than my starting 11. Yeah, mine got, what, 19, so very close. It's going to be that case for a lot of people with Kabore, Archer, Lascelles, etc. Torres was great at Liverpool. They would love to find a new Torres. He just sucked at Chelsea. Yeah, Torres at Liverpool was unplayable. Do I think he was the best forward in Premier League history? No, but in that time frame, he was one of the best strikers in the world. Didn't watch the game. Was Haaland injury bad? Not bad, but it was evident enough that a lot of people thought he'd be subbed off at half-time. Let's put it that way. I think he's going to be available for either young boys on Tuesday or at the weekend against Chelsea. The Doggy and a Stupinian update. With a Doggy, there's nothing, unfortunately. A Stupinian could be back fairly soon, but as a lot of Brighton fans speculate, you would expect them to be available for Ajax in that crucial game. And Ajax have won 2 games on the bounce, by the way, entering a bit of form. And then against Sheffield United, you'd probably expect the Stupinian to be benched. So, yeah, with a Stupinian, not enough updates. I'll check and see if there's anything, but with a Doggy, there's definitely nothing. 34 all out, not too bad. I'm not getting there. Unless Maddison does something amazing, I'm not getting to that. So, decent score, all things considered. Remy says 270k, 23 points. Not too bad, your rank anyway. The points, obviously, a bit like a lot of us, quite average. Thank God Salah blanked. Yeah, that's the way I'm looking at it. And yeah, you've got 2 players left. I think a green arrow is possible. Rafik says my team is Areola, Trippier. So I have Maddison on the bench. Whom should I replace him in my squad? Not sure about benching Maddison, mate. I'd start him over Douglas Luiz all day of the week. It doesn't matter if Douglas Luiz is at home against Fulham. I'd start Maddison. Also, your defenders, yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I can see why you've done that, but I'd start Madison. There's no way I'd bench him. You could consider selling him, which you're talking about, but I don't think it's a priority. Who would I go to? Maybe Gordon. I think Gordon's a great option. Hwang Hee-chan long term. I wouldn't buy him this week though against Tottenham, but yeah, I think Gordon's a good shout. Begging for Spurs to mess up big time. Yeah, I'd love it. Even if it means I get a red arrow, so be it. I hope that they do. So let's manifest it like I was doing for Salah in the Discord server. Start free, Cash, Gabriel, Simicast, Gay. Good question. I'd go for Gabriel, Cash, and probably Gay. Is Mbuma to Gordon a mistake? No. I think up until Game Week 14, that's a great move. I mean, long term, maybe both of them is the solution, not just one or the other. But if you're asking me, who would you rather have up until Game Week 14? It's definitely Gordon. There's no doubt about it. And he's even cheaper. That extra million can go a long way to upgrading your team. Marek says, which defender to a 4.9 million choose for a few weeks? Already have Gay, Simicast, Cash, Region, and Taylor. Well, I personally still like Gabriel. As a 2-week punt, Maguire or Wan-Bissaka aren't the worst, but I still don't trust them fully. I think a clean sheet against Luton is possible. After that, I'm not expecting any clean sheets, to be honest. But I'd say Gabriel is still my answer. 40 points of Son to go. That's a great score. Mitchell saved my game week. Was going to go for Gabe, but went for Mitchell instead. So I could maybe get James or Prowse next week. Good stuff. Ended up being good luck, 15 points. Well, sometimes you need luck to go your way. Fair play. Good transfer. I think for some people, they only got Mitchell because, well, just like you said, for the money, really. Some people couldn't afford Gay or Anderson, who they wanted. So instead, they kind of compensated with Mitchell. And in the end, it worked out. So you got to enjoy it. Sell Cash for Maguire, don't hold for that, and start stacking Chelsea assets. Something is cooking there. I mean, look, Chelsea have shown signs all season, but they don't have enough quality to actually score enough goals, win enough matches, and also to actually just be a serious team. As planned earlier, sell Maddison to Saka to avoid price changes or wait to the Champions League. Wait to the Champions League. You never know what could happen there, especially with the injuries Saka's had in the last couple of weeks. Look, I don't think he'll be injured, but it wouldn't surprise me if something happened in that Sevilla game. So, yeah, I'd definitely wait. You never know what can happen in football. And you've also got Europa League, Conference League. Yeah, definitely hold if you can. I agree if Burn will go, Burn to Lascelles, looking at removing Alvarez, but there's so little around his price point. I still like Alvarez, but he has blanked quite often in the last couple of games. The Cowboys are denying the unbeaten run tomorrow. Mate, I'd love it, honestly. It doesn't matter what I think about Chelsea. I wouldn't mind that at all. What game week should we start getting rid of Villa players? 13 and 15 for me. I still like them against Fulham. I am considering selling Diaby only to facilitate that goalkeeper upgrade and also possibly other upgrades elsewhere. And I'm also bringing in Gordon, so it's not like I'm bringing in a terrible option. But honestly, my preference would be to keep Villa players for Fulham, then look to sell them from Game Week 13. So maybe sell Cash in 13, keep the likes of Diaby and Watkins for the Game Week 14 fixture against Bournemouth, and then look to sell one or two of the others in Game Week 15. Mitchell or Gabriel? I still prefer Gabriel. I think Arsenal have one of the best defences in the league alongside Man City. Crystal Palace over the next 4 or 5 have better fixtures, but beyond that, I think Gabriel's the better option. I have Son left versus Chelsea. Hat-trick needed. Oh, good luck to you. I hope you do well personally, but I'm hoping for a Son blank, if I'm being honest. Only consolations that all captains have blanked. Yeah, it's just a weird week, really. 270k overall rank, 23 points, thank God. Yeah, we went through that. Rafik as well. So let me see if I can skim through this since... yeah, I know I'm far behind in the chat. Rashford will play soon. No idea. Some people speculate that he was out of the team because of his antics after the Manchester derby where he was partying. I think he'll be back very soon. Non-Haaland owners and non-Watkins owners must have been doing a lot of praying. They have just got lucky. I don't have Watkins and can't get him in for a while. Yeah, with Watkins, look, for me, he's an absolute troll. He missed a big chance last week and this week. He's only got 1 goal in my team in a matter of 9 or 10 game weeks. And then the 2 times I didn't have him, you know what happened. So, yeah, Watkins isn't exactly my favourite FPL player. I foresee Nketiah on the bench in the Arsenal next game. Possible. And also, one thing that happened last season when Arsenal was struggling for creativity and free-flowing football was benching Nketiah for Trossard, and then Arsenal went on a 7-game winning streak. So, yeah, it's possible. I wouldn't be completely surprised, but if Nketiah starts, I think he's got a great chance of falling against Burnley. Do I like him beyond Game Week 12? No, I don't. Should we be concerned? Potentially, but if I had Nketiah, I'd definitely keep and maybe look to sell him afterwards, but definitely keep for Burnley. Amazing to think Wan-Bissaka was a winger in his early days. Yeah, but defensively he's really good. Maybe what he gained from his days as a winger is anticipating how a winger thinks, so he kind of just reads every single one of their moves. Is a -4 worth bringing a backup goalkeeper? No. It's not worth it because he's going to be on your bench anyway. I just wait until you have a free transfer. It's not worth it, mate. In terms of a backup goalkeeper, for me, the best one is Areola. And then your main goalkeeper, Johnston, Raya and Leno look like the best ones. Vicario also looks pretty good, but my favourite is Raya. I asked you in the deadline stream, would Tyrick Mitchell start? You said yes, and I transferred him in. Well, look, to be honest, it's good that you got him in, but I only just said my opinion. Mitchell starts pretty much every single game, and I'm happy that it worked out for you, but yeah, let me take the credit. It's your decision. You got him in. I wouldn't have recommended him in general, to be honest. I preferred Gay and Anderson, so there you go. Burn. I'd keep him, wait for more updates, but if he is out, you can always sell him to Lascelles, gain a bit of money there, and I think a lot of us have defensive depth, so it's not a big issue. 40 points so far, Son and Maddison to go. Yeah, you're looking good. McAllister's brilliant, I miss him. Yeah, look, with McAllister, he might not be everyone's cup of tea. He's not the best midfielder in the world, but he's an all-rounder, and look, he can play in the defensive midfield role, but for me, playing as the lone DM just doesn't bring the best out of him. Feel like jumping on a bonfire night after this game week. Yeah, if you hear any kind of like bonfires going out, it's literally what's happening outside. Hey, just here to brag, got Archer off the bench for Odegaard, Dallo, and Boomer, and Bruno returns. But in the end, all pre-template picks, to be fair. Enjoy it. Man's talking facts on Mac 10. Well, I appreciate it. Just my opinion. Some people will disagree, and that's what football is about. A game of opinions. Best captain for next week. I think Salah and Saka are at the top of my agenda. Also, I'd put the likes of Son and Maddison to the mix. My current captain is Salah, but yeah, that's kind of the four I'm mainly looking towards. If I'm looking at others, maybe Trippier is a great shout. Callum Wilson's not a bad one against Bournemouth. So yeah, I think there are plenty of options. My top 5 off the top of my head would be Salah first, Saka second, Son third, Maddison fourth, and Trippier fifth. They bought Endo, but still play Mac 10 as a DM. Yeah, I think McAllister's best position is as a box-to-box midfielder, as a number 8, if anything. But yeah, he's a really quality player for me. Thank you, Rodrev. 21 points with 23 on the bench. Yeah. Look, a lot of us have a similar situation. If our bench hasn't outscored our starting 11, it's very close. And maybe your remaining Spurs or Chelsea players can help you there. Sell Alvarez. I still like him, to be honest. I still think he's the second or third best forward in the game. I'm looking at buying him around Game Week 16 onwards. But yeah, selling him to Nketiah for one-week pun or Callum Wilson, even Darwin Nunez, not a bad shout at all. I really want to know which AI recommended Areola. I think it's mainly a budget thing, and also the fixtures. Areola has done very well for his price. So yeah, there's a few reasons why. He's decent, by the way, but only one clean sheet. That has to be looked at, of course. I agree, McAllister being wasted. Szoboszlai has been doing well, but McAllister would do better in these kind of areas. Yeah, I see them both as a similar level. Maybe McAllister, I'm not sure if I could say he's done more in his career, but I think McAllister's proven himself on the world stage in the World Cup, and he's a quality player. I had my doubts about McAllister coming in for Lo Celso. I thought Argentina's chances of winning the World Cup would be, dropping off a cliff after that injury, but McAllister did extremely well, and my opinion about him changed drastically. So, yeah, I think if both of them play in a sort of similar position, and then you have Endo behind them, I think Liverpool look even better. Maguire, thoughts, will Varane come back in? Interesting one. I think, if anything, Varane comes back in for Evans, and it's Maguire and Varane playing together. You never know, to be fair, and I think Wan-Bissaka will be people's preference in the defence. Pure luck, 40 points, took Mitchell over Gay because of 0.1 million price rise on Gay. Ended up getting me 15 points. You got to enjoy it, man. You got to enjoy it. Simicast not starting does worry me. Yeah. And also Gabriel, some people think the same, but enjoy it, mate. I'm happy for you. I wish a lot more of us watching, and also myself, we're able to get that sort of thing this week. But look, it kind of ebbs and flows. We'll probably get lucky later in the season. And yeah, honestly, I'm happy for you. Saka's been awful the last few games. Yeah, but that's FPL and football for you. A player could be in bad form, but the quality of the player, the consistency, the fixtures, they all play a part. And I think Saka will do well. I'm still very bullish on him. But yeah, I'm not going to lie to you. I am still a bit concerned about Arsenal, the lack of free-flowing football. The fluidity in the attack doesn't seem to be there, the chemistry, but I think there's several reasons for that. And look, I'm not going to delve into excuses, but for me, one of them is no Odegaard or Partey. I think Partey is a huge miss this season, and he enables the best out of Zinchenko when he plays, and also he gets the best out of Odegaard, finding those passes between the lines, and then Odegaard has so much space to roam into to shoot or pass. Then you've also got Gabriel Jesus not being there. He's a much better player than Nketiah and gets the best out of the Arsenal attack. So there's different reasons, I think, for why Saka, Martinelli aren't looking that great. Serious question, is it really wise to target Everton and Forest still? Especially for clean sheet points? Depends on the fixture. So let's say, for example, Palace against Everton next week. It's still a decent chance of a clean sheet, but my original plan was to start Burn, Cash and Lascelles and bench Anderson and Tsimikas. So it kind of goes both ways. With Forest and Everton, though, yeah, they're not the worst teams in the world, and Everton have a really good expected goals figure. I think it's higher than City's and Arsenal's, to name two examples. For Remy says Son to Saka for free next game week, or save 2 free transfers. Can't find a way to take a -4 for Saka. Selling Haaland or Salah then. Yeah, I definitely wouldn't sell Salah. As for Haaland, only if he's injured. Heung-min Son against Wolves, I'd probably keep Son, to be fair. It's not ideal to go without Saka against Burnley, but look what happened against Sheffield United the other week. It's not absolutely essential to have Saka. Turner to Raya will leave me with 0 million in the bank. I think it's worth it, mate, because as good as Areola's fixtures are, only 1 clean sheet this season. I think Forest will score in Game Week 12, and Raya has a good chance against Burnley, on paper anyway. Who should I start of Areola or Turner? I'd go for Areola. And also Turner lost his spot, mate. Vlaco Dimos started today. We've been discussing this possibility for months now, and it's finally happened. I think that mistake for Salah's goal was the final straw last week. Trippier, Cash, Sufal, Doggy, Lamptey, Matoma, Maddison, Saka, Salah, Palmer, Watkins, Haaland, Edouard for next week. Good stuff. I think overall my only concerns are Palmer's fixtures. Edouard is not my favourite option. And in your defence, yeah, you've got Sufal and Areola. I'm not a big fan of that double up. Doggy's still an injury doubt. Lamptey, not the best option. But I think the rest of your squad is great. Absolutely fantastic. Trippier, I wish I had him, but unfortunately I can't get him. So yeah, I think I'd start Areola. And in terms of transfers to look towards making, yeah, I'd still look at the likes of Johnston or Raya in goal. You've also got Gabriel in the defence you can bring in. Even Lascelles, for example, for Lamptey. I wouldn't mind those moves at all. Thanks for the response. I wonder about Gabriel, but also about Zinchenko. But I'm afraid about Zinchenko's minutes. Yeah, I definitely would recommend Zinchenko. Tomiyasu looks like the first choice left back at the moment, and he's been playing really well, in my opinion. He's inverting relatively well this season. But more importantly, he's offering Arsenal something different. He wins duels in the air. He also helps Arsenal to advance higher up the pitch. And he's kind of a nuisance. You just don't know where he's going to be. Like against City for the goal that Martinelli scored, Tomiyasu was integral to that goal. So, yeah, Zinchenko's a definite avoid. If you want an Arsenal defender, Saliba or Gabriel are your best bets. Ben White is still good, but albeit I think Saliba and Gabriel are better for value. And then you've got Raya in goal. Yeah, Saka not looking as explosive, I agree. His returns this season just not too consistent. I think his returns are consistent, but of course, in the last couple of weeks, you've had the injuries. He missed out the game against City, came off injured against Lens, and of course, blanked against Newcastle. Lucky assist against Sheffield United. So, yeah, there's a few things, but I still think Saka's a good long-term option. Maybe my prediction of Saka being the second highest scoring midfielder is wrong. Maybe it'll be Son, but I still think Saka will be top 3, for sure. Stacking Chelsea assets, not seen that when I watched them. Yeah, look, Chelsea have some good potential. I think Palmer at that price offers decent value. You've also got, well, I'm trying to struggle for names, I'll be honest. But there are some players in there with potential. Sterling, in a 1-week kind of punt, he can always deliver massive returns. But yeah, I think with Chelsea, they just don't have enough quality to really translate, you know, their chances created into goals. And they also make some big mistakes at the back too. Thoughts on Saka to Son for a 1-week punt? Honestly, either way, it can backfire. Now, I don't want to kind of preach this maybe negative mentality or something like that, but no matter what you do, whether you sell Saka to Son or sell Son to Saka, it's a really difficult call, and it's a difficult one. I honestly wouldn't sell Saka this week. Even if it's for Son, I just keep things as they are. That's just my personal take, but I'm just not so sure if the gains will be enough to justify that transfer, especially if you want Saka back the week after. Alvarez is playing as a midfielder half the time, not getting into those areas, but Chelsea up next. Yeah, I actually think Alvarez will score in that game. I think he's probably one of the best players in that match. But yeah, Alvarez is playing this sort of De Bruyne role. He's kind of everywhere, just in behind the striker. But Alvarez has still done really well this season, FPL-wise. Bukayo, Grealish is ruining him to back pass all the time. I'm not so sure about that. Look, I question Arteta this season, especially with the Gabriel situation earlier on. I also think he's having more of a focus on control. If you compare Arsenal starts to last season, they haven't scored in the first 15 minutes at all in this campaign. But last season, by this stage, they scored 14 goals in the first 15 minutes. I think Arteta's making a conscious effort to make Arsenal defensively resolute, control the games more with possession, and to not let games slip like they did last season. And it's not as good to watch. I also think Arsenal are missing some big players like Jesus, Partey and Odegaard. I think that makes a big difference. But it's a combination of factors. I don't think Saka's maybe lack of returns is specifically down to Arteta, but it is a factor. Nketiah or Alvarez. For Game Week 12, it'd be Nketiah, assuming he starts. Overall, Alvarez is a far better option. I can't stress that enough. Nunez getting benched after that masterclass. Well, Nunez won't start every game anyway, but missed some big chances today. A bit unlucky with the crossbar effort, but yeah, the second one he should have scored. Nketiah in for Darwin, Watkins or Alvarez. Probably Alvarez, but as I just mentioned, he's kind of my top tip for that Chelsea-Man City game. I think he could be the one scoring the winner. So, difficult one to answer. Yeah, Watkins is also potentially a sell from Game Week 13 or 15 onwards. Darwin, benchable against City. Some people like facts say that he could be benched against Brentford. But yeah, if I had to sell one, it probably is Alvarez. He probably has the lowest ceiling in Game Week 12. Like the stream, guys. Thank you, Durgish. As he says, like the stream, it'd be very much appreciated. We've got 150 people watching, which I appreciate. Let's try to get this stream to over 100 likes. Thank you very much for that. And yes, I know I'm very far behind, by the way. I'm just going to have a quick look at how much. Not too bad. I appreciate those that are patient. It's kind of a slower tempo, not like a deadline stream, just so we can get for every question. What about selling Watkins to Nketiah for 2 3-week punt? I'm not completely against that. I think Burnley is the one where Nketiah could really haul. Just for reference, Nketiah has a decent home record. In terms of starts, I'm not sure what the exact figure is now, but I think in his last 17 starts at the Emirates, he's got 14 goals or something like that. I might be a bit off with the numbers, but it's a similar record to that. Away from home, Nketiah's record is diabolical. And yeah, with Nketiah, I just don't really trust him. The thing with Watkins, though, if you're selling him now, when are you bringing him back? Because he faces Fulham this week. He also faces Bournemouth in Game Week 14. But there's Spurs in between those two games, and you've got some terrible fixtures from 15 onwards. So if you sell Watkins now, you probably won't go back to him for a long while. You probably look to Alvarez in Game Week 16 instead. So I don't mind that at all. But as someone mentioned earlier, and it's not a bad shout, Trossard could come in as the false nine. It hasn't happened this season, apart from Fulham at home, and Trossard was booted off at half-time. But Arsenal also went on a great run last season of 7 games in a row, winning all of them, when Trossard came in as the number 9, the false 9, for Eddie Nketiah. Looks like a Game Week 14-15 wildcard for my team to get rid of all Villa assets. Yeah, I think that's a good shout. And also Game Week 18 around that, or 19 to facilitate a Game Week 20 bench boost or triple captain, and also triple Brentford and City, should their double take place. Can't believe there's another international break incoming. I'm actually happy for it. And look, it's an unpopular opinion. I think if you watch Euro qualifiers, you're going to be bored. But I watch South American qualifiers. They can be a bit annoying, you know, a lot of fouls, a lot of 1-0s, tight games, a lot of violence, you could say. Not enough football, but yeah, I just enjoy watching my national team play. From that perspective, with the Euros, I can understand people who just detest, you know, international football, but I actually welcome it, especially with my start to this FPL season. Brion Tan says, "Hi Dylan, is it only me that thinks this FPL season is very different to any others?" Yeah, I agree. It's more of a challenge, and I do embrace the challenge, but I also think there's an element of variance and luck. For example, now I'm not being salty here, by the way. I'm genuinely happy for those that went for Mitchell. But for example, bringing in Mitchell because of a 0.1 million price difference, and then him getting 15 points, whilst Anderson gets a booking in the 94th minute. Then you've got all these other factors like Haaland being injured at half-time, being subbed off in a 6-1 win. There's a lot of different things, of course, that's happened this season. But that's just the way it is. It's more challenging. And of course, there is an element of skill always in these games. But luck is always going to take place in FPL, UCL Fantasy, or anything, even when you do well. Worst game week of my life. Dropped 500k. I've had worse than that, to be honest. I've had worse weeks even this season. But yeah, in terms of points scored, it's going to be the lowest for a lot of people. Matoma and Mbuma owners were lucky. Neither of their assists were assists, really. Yeah, and also Mbuma last week getting a goal from Malpai, not able to score an open goal against Chelsea. I mean, that's also an element of luck in my opinion, but you got to, take it when it comes. I took out Gabriel because he is there for clean sheets. You don't want him missing easier fixtures. Tsimikas, even off the bench, is more attacking than Gabriel. The thing is, though, I think Gabriel will start. As I discussed before the Game Week 11 deadline, I think what Arteta was doing was benching Gabriel against Sheffield United, then benching Saliba against West Ham, and then having both of them ready with minutes managed heading into Newcastle. And it worked out well. Both of them played relatively decent in yesterday's game. So I think Gabriel will start tomorrow, and it wouldn't surprise me if he scored a goal, got a 15-pointer, bullet header, and there you go. Haaland back versus Chelsea, apparently. Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me at all. I think he will be. Might miss a young boys, which is frustrating because I have him in UCL Fantasy, but yeah, I genuinely think Haaland will be back for Chelsea. It'd be very surprising to see him miss out. Downgrade Bowen to Neto or roll the transfer? No. Why Neto? He's still injured. I just keep Bowen. If you were to downgrade Bowen, it would be to Gordon or Hwang Hee-chan, but I just keep Bowen, honestly. Still a good option. Any news on big boy Dan Burn? No. I can give you the latest official update by Eddie Howe. Just give me a second. So, yeah, just currently being assessed. I think he's now, a 25% chance of playing? That can't be right. I think it's 50%, isn't it? Jesus, that's low. 25%? My lord. No way. Let me double check that. I think FPL now is at 50%. Yeah, this might not be fully updated. Yeah, 50% chance of playing, but yeah, he's currently being assessed. We haven't had a concrete update yet, but I don't know. If you're asking me, right now, I think he'll be available, but I've been wrong about this sort of scenario many times. Haaland is out of the way, says Hassan. Fair enough. I'm still keeping him, reluctantly. Should I start considering transfers to bring back Haaland, or is there still time? Honestly, if I didn't have Haaland, I would just go without him until Game Week 16. Conversely, if I have Haaland, unless he's ruled out for Game Week 12, I'm probably keeping him. So I think it's just kind of keep your strategy and stick to it. And in your case, up until Game Week 16. Is Maddison to Saka for a straight swap worth it right now? Well, I think Saka is a better option for the next 5 to 10 game weeks. And up until the end of the season, I think Saka will outscore Maddison. But if you don't have Son and Maddison's your only Spurs coverage, I mean, there's no denying Spurs offensively are looking like one of the top teams in the league. Arsenal, yeah, they're still scoring goals, but they don't look as convincing. So I'd only sell Maddison to Saka if you have Son already and you want to diversify your attack a little bit more. I knew it. Klopp won't play Tsimikas consistently. Yeah, I mentioned this before Game Week 9, I think. And I brought Tsimikas in last week, by the way, and I got the clean sheet, but yeah, I said this from the get-go. Don't be surprised if Joe Gomez or Endo play left-back from time to time. And I still expect Tsimikas to start most games, but this could be a concern. Odegaard, if he's back for Burnley, I'm not sure what the exact diagnostic is, but if he's back, then yeah, I think he's a great option in game weeks like 12 against Burnley. That's the type of game where he could get 15 to 18 points quite easily. But yeah, just trying to get the official word. He's got a groin injury. That is the official word. It's a bit surprising to see him miss out. If you're asking me, I think he's back for Burnley. I hope he is for sure. Yeah, Salah blank. That's good. I was hoping for it, to be honest, even though I have him. Trippier gave me 9 points. Not happy about that, but fair play. One of the things I was hearing about Gabriel is his attacking threat. Yeah, I discussed this in all my Translips videos. Gabriel has a great Premier League record in terms of goals scored. 10 Premier League goals in his career. Very good for a centre-back, but his underlying numbers this season have been extremely poor. Not enough shots. His XG and expected assists are really minimal, but I still think he can get a big return eventually. Who in the world triple captain Doku? Yeah, to be honest though, I think the guy who did that, I think his team name is actually Doku, Count Doku or something, and he's had Doku from Game Week 1 basically since he joined Man City. Went Maddison to Foden as a 1 week punt, and of course Pep decides to bench him. At least you got a goal though off the bench. Best case scenario considering the situation. I'm actually quite happy I didn't go for Foden in the end, despite him scoring. And actually, if I did Saka to Foden, I probably would have been priced out of buying Saka back, and I just couldn't afford that risk. I hope Maddison stays quiet against Chelsea. I mean, to be honest, if there was one Spurs player to do well, I'd want it to be Maddison. But yeah, if Son blanks tomorrow, that'd be perfect, I think. And I'd just take it, move on, and forget this week ever happened. What a game week. Unexpected things happen. Liverpool match was wild. Arsenal got robbed. Oh, Haaland blanked. Watkins blanked. Salah blanked. Yeah, look, it's just one of those weeks, I think. And also, by the way, don't forget Wolves. They got robbed yet again. Brighton with one of their goals. I think the dunk one. I mean, it's consistently Wolves and Brighton as well being shagged, but there you go. Thank you, Twister Park. Yeah, I appreciate it. So yeah, thank you very much. Just typical though, I think, with that kind of ratio with most people and most channels. Did you get any bonus points, Dylan? Bonus points? No, mate. No. I mean, what you see is what you get, really. I mean, Cash, yeah, he's just staying on 0. Simicast 1, Salah 2, and yeah, Diaby and Watkins 2. I wish I had bonus points. I'd be celebrating, even if it was 1. Yeah, it's not happening. Are you planning to take how many hits from Game Week 12 to 19? I can't really answer that definitively because things change week on week. Remember, we're going to have a very congested fixture schedule in Christmas, as we always do, December to January. So hits could be, you know, very, very often or very frequent there. But I'm not so sure, to be honest. Maybe a -4, -8. Let's see where it takes us. I'm trying to break my FPL depression by taking the week. Talking the week among girls to break my introvertness. Well, I mean, you've got to find something, an outlet, whether you're playing a game, talking to girls, wherever it is. So good luck, mate. Trust me, FPL is not worth getting depressed about. It's just a game, just virtual points. I'm literally laughing at how many points I'm getting at the moment, and you got to take on the chin. I haven't looked at how many points I got this week. All I want to do is wildcard, restraint needed. Yeah, honestly, if I didn't make videos and streams, I would not look at my rank at all. I would not look at it. But because I make videos and you know, people always ask, you know, how many points did you get this week? I have to actively search, unfortunately. I know it's a bit sore right now, but in the bonus point system, Trippier, Lascelles, and Jonathan got 3. Next was Gordon, 23, netting him 1 bonus. Why didn't he get 2? I think it's because 3 people were joint, you know, top. And so as a result, 4th place, who ends up getting a bonus point, is not able to get 2. I think that's the way it works, but I'm not an expert on bonus points, that's for sure. Matoma or Bowen for Game Week 12? I'd stick with Bowen. Best defenders for the next fixture swings. Gabriel is still up there for me. Anderson, Gay, or Mitchell, whoever you want to go for there. Simicast is still decent if he can start the vast majority of games. Let's see if that's the case. Other defenders, I mean, for a 2-week punt, maybe you could say Maguire, Wan-Bissaka. But yeah, I'm mainly looking at Arsenal and Palace defenders. Would you sell Haaland to free up 7-8 million in the short term and get him back for Game Week 16? What would you do with that extra 7-8 million? That would be my question. So yeah, unless you're able to bring in Son and Salah, you know, players of that ilk, I'm not so sure if it's worth it. 13 points for Son and Maddison left to play. Yeah, at least you're laughing about it, to be honest. I actually think Son and Maddison could get you to 30 points. I genuinely think that. If you can get at least 10 points from those two, not too bad. You're probably hoping for 15 points or something, you know, to be happy. Foden and Burn to sack and Lascelles. I don't mind that at all. Wait for updates with Burn. If he's ruled out, I have no problems with those transfers whatsoever. Only saving grace was Johnston, Gay, Anderson. Triple up in Palace defense. Fair play, man. Fair play. Thank God I invested in Palace defense. Yeah. In certain weeks, you know, those sort of double or triple ups could be crucial. I'm not a huge fan of it, but yeah, you got to enjoy it, man. Fair play. I think people are overlooking Callum Wilson. Yeah, look, I think Wilson against Bournemouth is great. I never expected Wilson to do well yesterday. You know, he tends to struggle against Gabriel and Saliba. But yeah, I think against Bournemouth, he hasn't scored against them before, but I think he will next week. Sometimes stats over lap luck. FPL is fun that way. Of course, you know, if FPL and football was about stats, then the mathematicians would win, as Mourinho said. So yeah, I completely agree. Eze for Diaby? No, I wouldn't sell Diaby for Eze this week. I'd keep Diaby now, maybe sell him in 13 or 15. Sell Bowen and Edouard to get Mitoma and Darwin? No. I think you're on the right track selling Edouard, but if anything, sell him to Nketiah for a 1-week punt. I wouldn't sell Bowen. Honestly, I don't think it's worth it. Cash, Simicast, Maguire, Gabriel, free to play. Gabriel, Cash, and Maguire. VAR, rest in peace, Gordon goal was by clear foul. I'm not going to say anything. I made my feelings clear on Twitter, and, you know, I already vented yesterday. Still pissed off this morning. I think there was 4 points of contention with that goal. It stood, you know, those that have Gordon, fair play, enjoy the points, but there you go. Don't think Gordon got any bonus. I'll double check that for you. I honestly don't know. Let me actually double check. Gordon. And by the way, he was already a consideration for me as a transfer. Yeah, he got 0 bonus points. You're absolutely right. So those 3 players got 3 bonus points. Joelinton, Trippier, and Lascelles. Should I invest more in goalkeepers or save money in midfielders? Well, look, you also don't want to go overboard of goalkeepers, so I wouldn't recommend Alisson or Edison. They haven't really proven their worth for quite some time now. Well, maybe that's unfair on Alisson. He was good last season, but yeah, I think, if anything, the most expensive goalkeeper I'd go to is Vicario. Other than that, I'd mainly look at Raya or Johnston. I think they're the 2 best goalkeepers. Raya's my favourite long-term, but ultimately, if you're asking me, midfield is the priority. With goalkeepers, it's not really a big difference of points. You know, in most cases, you're getting 6 or 7 points from your goalkeeper if they do well. There's going to be the odd double-digit return. Midfielders always have the higher ceiling. Kabore and Odegaard are my heroes of the game week. I see why. Fair play, fair play. Why sell Haaland, bring him in Game Week 16 when he blanks 18? Also, not many cheaper ones. Yeah, that's true. That is true. There is also a debate to free hit in Game Week 18, or... The thing is, though, look, if you go without Haaland up until, let's say, Game Week 19... you're going to miss some really big games there like Luton. And honestly, that could be... Look, I did say this against Bournemouth and look what happened. It's not that simple. But yeah, in terms of fixtures, Haaland is almost a must-have from 16 onwards. The only issue is Game Week 18, as you say. Adingra, biggest troll? I mean, not necessarily. He's a young talent. He's not going to be the most consistent. And also, Brighton haven't fully clicked in recent weeks. They dropped points against Fulham. I thought Everton would win against them this weekend. So yeah, you've got to be realistic as well. He's a 5 million midfielder. I still prefer him over Palmer up until Game Week 16, but once the fixtures turn, I think Palmer is the clear winner. So to explain my thought process, I think of getting Son from Maddison and Nketiah from Watkins and stay with the defensive trio, Trippier, Anderson, Cher, Tsimikas, at least for this week, after Nketiah to Alvarez. It's a solid plan. My only issue with that is that you're selling Son and Maddison from a team that could go top of the league again tomorrow. And Son is playing down the middle. He's in the form of his life, you could argue. Maddison hasn't blanked away from home. That is my issue with your transfer plans. I like who you're bringing in. But yeah, you're getting Son for Maddison, sorry, and then you're getting Nketiah for Watkins. I don't mind that too much, actually. The only thing is that Maddison is more consistent than Son away from home this season. But overall, I think it's a decent short-term punt. And yeah, bringing Alvarez for Nketiah, especially from 16 onwards, good shout. So yeah, I like that thought process. You've definitely thought it through very well. How many players are on your watch list? That's a good question. So just to list off some names. In goal, pardon, it'd be Raya and Johnston. In the defense, we actually could maybe go through it here. Yeah, let's go through it here, and then I'll show some different screens afterwards, then go back to your questions. So I'll kind of make a whole team of players on my watch list. So in goal, these would be my 2 players on the watch list. I'm only going to bring one of them in, by the way, not both. Then in the defense, let's see. These would also be on my watch list. Gabriel. Will I even be able to have 5 defenders on the watch list? Probably not. I mean, Trippier is always going to be on my watch list, but very unlikely to bring him in. I'd say Pedro Porro is still a decent option for me. Even Romero as well. Who else do we have here? I mean, Mikalenko's been in good form recently, but I still don't trust Everton fully. I'd say Maguire seems a bit weird, but yeah, probably a United defender. And considering my situation, Maguire is on my watch list. Jesus Christ, what has FPL come to? Can I find 2 more defenders? Walker's still decent just because of City. And my 5th defender on the watch list, I'm also trying to cover different teams, by the way, because I already have Anderson. But yeah, I think another one on the watch list could be... Can I find a 5th defender? That's not sure if I can. I mean, just because of his attacking potential, Estupinian would be on my watch list. Wait, actually, I've already got 5 defenders. What am I doing? But yeah, Estupinian could be on my watch list too. But honestly, I'm not a big fan of Brian defensively. So yeah, then we go to the midfield. I mean, Son's at the top of my watch list there. I sold him last week. I didn't want to. I have to make that very clear. But it was necessary to get Bowen. So yeah, let's get Son in. Let's see who else would be on my watch list. Mbumo, especially from 14 onwards, who I also sold a few weeks ago. You can see a pattern here. Gordon, I could bring him in this week as well. He's definitely up there. Wang Hee-chan, I still like. And let's see who the 5th midfielder would be. Should we say Matoma? Yeah, maybe Palmer in the long term, but I don't like him with the fixtures right now. Let's go for Matoma, I think, just to get a Brian play in there. And free forwards. Yeah, so the free forwards, of course, would be Alvarez, Nketiah as a 1 week punt, and Darwin Nunez still, since I already have Watkins and Haaland. So this would pretty much be the list of players on my watch list. The ones at the top of my watch list would be Raya. In defense, it would be, well, it would be Trippier if money was no issue. Heung-min Son, Gordon, and I would also say Imbumo. So that's 5 players at the top of my watch list, and this is a 50-man squad full of players I could bring in very soon. Let me know what you think in the live chat. And by the way, let me just get to this super chat. Thank you very much, You Never Walk Alone Anchor. I appreciate it. Can only laugh, not cry. Appreciate you. It's been a while. Thank you very much for the super chat and for tuning in again. Thinking Ruben Diaz to Matip, Kabore to Soufal, and Turner to Johnston. Which transfers do you favour? Thank you very much. I think the best one of the lot is Turner to Johnston. The only issue is that in a few weeks' time, Palace's fixtures do turn for the worse. But in the meantime, over the next 4 or 5 game weeks, it should pay off. And Turner's lost his spot. I don't trust Forest defensively anyway. Ruben Diaz to Matip, I'm not a big fan of, to be honest. I'd rather go elsewhere. And also, Liverpool tend to play Van Dijk and Konate together. So, yeah, Matip would be an avoid. Kabore also got a big return today, by the way, but he's still a sell. I can understand that. One consideration I'd make for you is Lascelles in the defence. And I said this before his return against Arsenal, because he's 4 million, playing one of the best defences in the league. Botman suffered a setback, and I think he's a great option in the long term, so long as he's still out. So, yeah, I think Turner to Johnston is the play. Also consider Raya if you can afford it. And in the defence, I think my preference would be Kabore to Lascelles. Let me know what you think of that, and thank you very much for the super chat and for tuning in. Yeah, we went through the thought process question. Thank you very much. Use Fantasy Football Scout or Fantasy Football Hub? I use Fantasy Football Hub. I tend to show it on my streams, predicted points, the FDR as well. You really have to do an Arsenal watch along. It's not a good idea. I'd be cancelled immediately. I definitely let myself go when I watch football. But, it's over. It's a new day. It's a new dawn. It's a new light. I don't know why I'm quoting a song now. Adingra or Nketiah? Bench one, please. Adingra. I'd rather start Nketiah. The only issue is if Nketiah's benched. Why Premier League refs are giving weird decisions? I mean, look, we all have our opinions. I genuinely think, once you see a referee or multiple referees making mistakes, you can be understanding. It's a difficult job, of course, no one denies that. But when you see some really clear decisions not given, you've got VAR as well, you've got multiple people involved in the decision-making process, you start to question something more sinister. But I don't want to get into that too much, to be honest. Haaland comeback incoming. Yeah, I think he'll be back very soon. And yeah, if he's not available for Young Boys and Chelsea, I'll be very surprised. Would you bring in Salah for Man City away for Odegaard if you didn't own him already? Look, Salah can still do well against City. He scored at the Etihad just a few months ago before City ended up demolishing them. But yeah, I mean, with Salah, if anything, you'd rather buy him for Brentford or after the City fixture rather than for Gameweek 13 specifically. So I'm not too sure about the timing of that, to be quite frank, but maybe because, you've got other plans this week and then you'll have 2 free transfers in 13. That might be why, but yeah, I probably wouldn't buy him for City specifically. I'd rather buy him before or after. People captaining Haaland because of performance or fear. I'll be honest, I'm just speaking for myself. I captain him for several reasons, which I listed in my deadline stream. One, he's facing Bournemouth at home, who've got the second worst goals conceded and expected goals conceded. 2, Haaland had a whole week break, no Carabao Cup, while Salah played 90 minutes. Number 3, Luton Town haven't lost a single game at home by more than 1 goal. I thought Liverpool would win by 2 or 3. My prediction was 3-0, but I was anticipating a bigger City win, and that's what ended up happening. Do I have a number 4? I mean, some arguments for Salah's favour were that he's a midfielder, so extra point for scoring a goal and a clean sheet. But overall, I looked at all the reasons, and I thought Haaland was the one. He's also shown some great form. Brace against Man United, also got an assist. Brace against Young Boys. But it is what it is. I think he was very unlucky. If he didn't get that injury, I think he would have scored a goal in the second half. But of course, if buts, maybes, it is what it is. 22 points. A lot of us have that. Don't worry, mate. There are some worse scenarios out there. 32 points for Vikari left to play. Good stuff. I think a clean sheet is possible. So you could be looking at 38 points there, or even a bit higher. 33 so far for me, and all out. Good luck, Neil. Should still be more than what I get. And of course, that shouldn't be the benchmark, especially in my season. But got to take the positives. There are some people watching that have maybe 10, 15. And a lot can still change, of course, tomorrow. 8 Nuri, says Anis. Yeah, look, he's playing in a really advanced role. If I were to go for a Wolves defender, he is the one. And I mentioned him earlier to someone who said they got Dawson on the free hit. But I don't trust Wolves defensively like I did a few years ago when they had Doherty. And of course, Jose Sarr is probably the best way of covering them. 8 Nuri is an exciting pick, but not my favourite. Good shout though, and I can see why he did it because I'm talking about players on the watch list. And actually, he could replace one of these players like Walker. That's a good shout. But if I'm being honest, I'm not sure if I'd actually go for him. He'd be like 15th on this list because I just don't personally trust Wolves. You know, clean sheet against Spurs? I don't think so. Maybe Burnley. But I think they won't keep a clean sheet in the other games, to be honest. Good shout, though, I have to say. I'm not belittling your idea. It's a good one. Is Darwin worth bringing in? He still is. Is he one of the best forwards in the game? I think so, but probably around 4th or 5th, which I said last week and the week before and before. So the way I'd rank it still is Haaland 1st, Watkins 2nd, Alvarez 3rd, Darwin 4th, and then you're looking at Wilson 5th. Of course, based on fixtures and, you know, depending on different circumstances. For Game Week 12 specifically, Nketiah and Wilson look amazing. But beyond that, especially when Isak comes back, it is a different scenario there. Got 23 with Son and Maddison to play, 2 red arrows in a row now. I sympathise with you, but you've got Son and Maddison left. You could still get a green arrow by the end, trust me. Don't forget Reece James is back now. Yeah, still not one of my favourite options, to be honest. He always gets injured. Yeah, apart from Palmer, who for me is the best FPL option for Chelsea, I'd say Sterling in the odd game week. Maybe I'd look at someone like Colwill as a cheap defender. Sanchez and goal isn't too bad. Nkuku, yeah, he is definitely one to look at. I think once he comes back, he is a fantastic option. That's a great shout. I think he'll make a big difference to Chelsea. When's the Stupinian back? Well, the initial feeling was Game Week 11. He's still out right now. But I personally think he'll be available for Game Week 12. But I think he will play in the Europa League and be benched in the Premier League. Is Haaland out a good play this week? If he's out injured, yeah. I think he's a sell. But for me, he's still a keep. I think he'll be available for Game Week 12. I think he's going to do well against Chelsea and in the weeks to come. I think whether you went for Haaland or you went without him, I think the plan is to stick no matter what you did. If you went without him, you know, you kind of maybe got off lightly despite the haul against Man United last week. But yeah, no matter what you have, I think just stick to it. I don't think he's worth selling right now. At the same time, if you don't have him, just buy him back around Game Week 16, if anything, or a bit later on. Wissa from week 14 onwards and 8 Nuri. Yeah, Wissa's a good shout too. I'd rather have Mbumo, of course, but Wissa is still one of the better forwards in the game. 8 Nuri, yeah, great shout. Why did you pick Gordon instead of Diaby? No, so just to make it very clear, what you see on screen is 15 players on my watch list. I've already got Diaby, and I'm looking to sell Diaby around Game Week 13 or 15, maybe even this week if that's the way I need to fund other upgrades. So that's why Diaby isn't there, Haaland isn't there. This is not a wildcard team. Let me make that very clear. It's just 15 players on my watch list that I could bring in the coming weeks. Thank you, Never Walk Alone Anchor. I appreciate it. Due to prices, has Pickford become an option again? Well, Pickford is in good form right now, but it'd be typical for people with Pickford still to start him or Mikalenko or all these defenders, Branthwaite, and then they concede. So, yeah, I'm not expecting clean sheets in the next couple of weeks. There's some really tough games, but look, Everton, especially with this news of a potential points deduction, could be reunited, and you know it could be kind of like a us against the world mentality, and they have done very well recently, even against, if you look at Liverpool. I think they did really well in that game. Feremi says, who will you play in place of Guimaraes as he's suspended next? That's a good question. I think that's best answered by a Newcastle fan. Off the top of my head, I don't know, because Tonali's also suspended. I think it could just be Longstaff in midfield with Joelinton, and I'm trying to think of the other one. It's probably a simple answer, to be honest. I'll try to look at that for you very soon. We got a super chat here. Thank you very much to Mikey Slices. Dylan, cheers for the content, mate. Thank you very much. I already have Bowen. Good time to obtain Kudus as well. Yes. Oh, yeah. That's probably the best player that I don't have in the in this watch list yet. I think Kudus is an amazing shout. I've already got Bowen, so I probably won't go there. But yeah, if I look at that, I'd probably remove Matoma from this watch list and put Kudus. I think that's a great shout. His goal against Arsenal was incredible. Poor defending from Zinchenko, but Kudus, if you focus on his quality there, the touchdown and the finish, it's absolute quality. The goal he scored to equalise against Brentford as well, got the assist too. I mean, he's just looking incredible. And for Ajax last season, even when he was still there this season, just really impressive whenever I watch him. So yeah, I think that's a fantastic shout. However, would I double up on West Ham midfield? Probably not. I mean, despite the fixtures, I think it's a case of one or the other. Maybe I'm being a bit too narrow-minded there. And look, Kudus himself, as an individual option, looks fantastic. He's a differential, got high ceiling, great fixtures, and we all know his quality. So, yeah, I think that is a good shout. But if it was me, it's one or the other, and I still prefer Bowen, in my opinion. Well, not out, but spot not nailed, just Twisted Parky. This is in reference to, let's see. Yeah, I'm not sure what that was in reference to, but yeah, then again, I am a bit late to the chat. When to play free hit? Well, I tend to play in a double or blank gaming. That doesn't mean that's the only way to play it. Some people played it this week. It looked good on paper. It didn't turn out the right way, but there's also an element of luck there. I think with the free hit, it's all team dependent, but I'd be looking at a blank or double game week. So maybe 18, game week 20 if there's a double game week, that's a shout. But yeah, especially for those that are buying Haaland back in game week 16, I think game week 18 could be a big possibility when Man City and Brentford blank. But of course, if you don't have that many Brentford or Man City players, then it's different. You don't free hit in game week 18. Got 37 with Darwizzy captain. Yeah, I mean, that's still a point more than Haaland, so, you know, you got to take it. Good score as well. Johnston, Lamptey, Alvarez, Gay, bench boost. Looks good on paper. I think Alvarez, Johnston, and Gay look really good. Lamptey, I mean, yeah, good fixture on paper. Yeah, I think that's a good bench boost, actually. I'd see it getting more than 10 points for sure. And if he gets 15 plus, that's a decent bench boost, all things considered. Only regret I have is I changed my captaincy from Trippier to Darwin. I mean, fair play if you're going to captain Trippier, because I thought Arsenal would score, to be quite honest with you. Didn't look like scoring yesterday, didn't create enough, but I think it was a 0-0 game written all over it. Not that I need it, but I fancy using my wildcard when we have time to build a wildcard for this week. Yeah, I'll try to make a video later, probably around Wednesday, because there's going to be UCL fantasy content over the next couple of days. But yeah, I think you just said it yourself, I don't need to play the wildcard. So just reconsider it. How many changes are you making? If it's less than 6 and, you know, you're still quite happy with your team, you just got to ask yourself, could I just hold on for maybe game week 15 and you can get rid of Aston Villa assets, or a bit later on like game week 18, 19, and you can navigate the blanks and doubles coming up. Just reconsider it. And I'm 22k overall. That's a great position to be in with the wildcard in your back pocket and that rank. I'm in a terrible rank and no wildcards, so it's time for robot decisions as we all complain and the game can't be subjective anymore like the old days. We want continuity 24/7. Yeah, I mean, there's several reasons why maybe some people lose interest in FPL, or people think that it's worse now, there's more luck and stuff like that, but I don't know. There's a lot of different things to kind of break down, to be fair. Ultimately, when we do well, we enjoy the game more. That's quite natural. Some people do embrace the challenge of, you know, struggling at the beginning, then doing a comeback, but you still maybe have some stress attached, or, you know, you have that kind of pressure to do well and to get out of that situation. If you're Ramsdale, would you think about looking elsewhere? Well, yeah. You know, as a kid as well, for example, you know, whenever you're on the bench, you know, it's not a good feeling. So, look, with Ramsdale, I don't think he's going to reclaim that spot at all, if I'm being completely honest. Raya's the new number one, and I think that'll be the case, unfortunately. With Ramsdale, though, there's this big debate about he needs to start games to be the number one keeper for England in the Euros. I don't think he will be the number one keeper for England, because Southgate has his preference in Pickford. Ramsdale, you know, played consistently for Arsenal for a couple of years, was pretty good, actually, most of the time. Even better than Pickford, but it's still Pickford starting, so yeah, I'd like to keep Ramsdale, have that goalkeeper depth, but ultimately what I want to do, depth by the way, not depth, I'd like to rotate both of them, give them a chance, and, you know, do it on merit. Ramsdale wasn't good against West Ham the other day. Raya has been a bit shaken the last couple of games, especially against Chelsea, Man City and Spurs, but I think long term it will work out. You think Estupinian will be back for Game Week 12? Yes, but as some Brighton fans alluded to, I think he'll start against Ajax and be benched in the Premier League. I could be wrong, though. I could be wrong. 44 points plus Maddison. Yeah, I think 50 plus is possible, and that's a green arrow secured, unless Song goes absolutely ballistic, which I doubt. Alisson Becker is expensive but pretty consistent. Yeah, that's true. I think I was wrong about that, but Edison, not worth it. And C always concede these kind of late goals that mean nothing. They win 4-1, 5-1, 3-1, but no clean sheet, no save points, and nothing. I don't think so. He played the 490 the other day, and I think he'll start most games at left back. But as we always talked about, there will be the odd time where it's going to be Endo or Joe Gomez in this case starting at left back. Yeah, I think he's worth keeping. If he's benched again in Game Week 12, though, that certainly changes, of course. If Burn holds his price and if Purvis drops 0.1, I can get him instead of Lascelles. I mean, you're a Brighton fan, you'll know better than me. Do you think Estupiñán plays against Sheffield United? If he does, then that's a great shout. Kept Bruno against all odds, it worked out. Yeah, I think against Fulham, good shout, but long-term still after Luton, is he a keep? I don't think so. Probably just a keep for the next few, and that's it. Red from 128k to 133k. That's not a bad red arrow, though, considering the sort of week it is. Only 5k rank drop, great position. You've got 2 players left. That's not going to be a green arrow. Sorry, that's not going to be a red arrow. It will be a green. You're thinking Cuckoo will take penalties when he's back? I'm not sure. Remember, Reece James is technically the #1 penalty taker. Then you've got Cole Palmer. And there's a few others as well in the mix, like Sterling. So I don't think so, but I could be wrong, of course. And Nkuku in general, I think, will be a good option. Bruno says, Willock, 1-1 goal matches are always annoy me. Not enough goals for great points and no points for clean sheet. Yeah. One of my highlights of the season is celebrating a 0-0 draw between Palace and Forest because Anderson got a clean sheet and Turner. One of the few decent kind of draws I've gotten. Anderson is injured for Newcastle. Yes, he is. Kudus isn't nailed. Alvarez and Paqueta will be back from suspension. To be honest, though, with Kudus, I mean, I just think West Ham would limit their own ceiling by benching Kudus. He's a much better player than Benrahma, for example. Alvarez, of course, offers that defensive security and aggression in midfield. Paqueta, obviously speaking, is one of West Ham's best players. But for me, Kudus has to start. And yeah, you might be right. He's not going to be the most nailed-on player, but he's definitely someone worth keeping on the watch list. I prefer Boeing in general anyway, which I mentioned a few minutes ago. Let's see how far behind we are. Not too far behind now. We'll get through these last few questions, I think. But actually, before I do that, by the way, thank you to E. Mers. Thanks for the stream, Dylan. Never easy when it's a low points return. Did you watch the Copa game? I didn't watch the Copa Libertadores. I know the result. Yeah, Cano scored. I think it's Cano. Germán Cano. Top goal scorer in Libertadores there for Fluminense. Then Boca equalized through Advincula. And then there was the late goal. I didn't watch it, though, I'll be honest. And I don't like Boca, just for reference. If it was any other Argentinian team, bar Boca, Newell's Old Boys, or River Plate, I would have wanted them to win. But because it was one of those teams, yeah, I just don't really care. Is it Nuri nailed? Maybe not the 100% nailed, maybe not that sort of nailed, but I think he'll start most games. Off topic, what streaming software do you use, Dylan? OBS, which is completely free, open broadcast software. So let's go to these different screens before we go back to the questions. So in terms of the FDR, West Ham are top and Arsenal have gone to second. Burnley, Brighton, Bournemouth complete the top 5. If we look at the bottom 5 as well, we've got Luton Town, Aston Villa, Chelsea, Spurs and Sheffield United. Even Liverpool are in the bottom 6. Man City not too great either. And if we look at predicted points, Heung-min Son is top with 6.8. Salah, Bruno, Saka and Haaland are in the top 5. Maybe the yellow flag has reduced Haaland's points prediction slightly. Wilson, Watkins, Matoma, Martinelli and Maddison are in the top 10 as well. Pretty decent top 10. I agree with most of it. I think Wilson's a great shout next week. And yeah, I think that's a pretty good top 10 overall. This is according to Fantasy Football Hub, which I have referenced in previous videos and streams. And this is price rises and falls. If possible, don't make early moves because we've got Champions League, Europa League and Europa Conference League coming up. Baraya, Romero, Pinnock, Branthwaite, Evans, Tsimikas, all close to going up. I think Tsimikas now will kind of go to a halt. I don't think he'll be going up anytime soon. Nketiah, though, is going up at a rapid pace. He could go up to 5.7 million. Even Cameron Archer, after that haul, is getting some love. In terms of those going down, not really anything of note here on the first page, but there will be some people, of course, who could be. Apologies for the voice crack, by the way. But yeah, That's pretty much it. Not much on the price front, it seems, but sometimes FPL headquarters seem to manipulate things and change things anyway. If we look at Draft Hound, which I use as well for my transfer plans, this is what they suggest. Maddison to Son and Diaby to Adingra. They also say Diaby to Matoma and Anderson to Saliba, and also Bowen to Matoma and Burn to Saliba. Some good suggestions, although I don't think I'm going to be going there. If you want a sneak preview of what I'm looking to do, I am considering Turner to Raya, and in order to fund that move, I am considering Anderson to Maguire or even Diaby to Gordon. I'm not a big fan of selling Diaby or any Aston Villa player this week against Fulham, but getting Gordon against Bournemouth and also trimming down my Aston Villa players already, heading into Game Week 13, and finding the funds to Raya, I think that could be the great move long term. Because apart from that, yes, I'd love to have Trippier and Son, but best way to do that is to sell Haaland, and I still don't want to do that, to be quite honest with you. If you go to the last screen that I'm going to show you here, it is the top 10k captaincy. Haaland was, well, 68% of people in the top 10k put the armband on Haaland. Salah was second with 27%. Both of them blanked. So did Watkins. Let's see what Son does tomorrow. Even Alvarez, Darwin, Saka, all blanked. Trent. I mean, you look down this list and not that many returns. Bruno Fernandes, I mean, 0.02% of you who captain him in the top 10k. Fair play, mate. Fair play. 11 points, got to take it. And those that triple captain Doku, yeah, I'm just not going to say anything about that, to be honest. So let's go back to my team and my amazing points. 24 overall. It's a red arrow, and I'd be very surprised if it somehow turned green. I think it's almost impossible. I think Son, Spurs defenders will do well tomorrow. Unless Maddison goes ballistic, I just see it as a red arrow. Got to take on the chin and move on. It's a disastrous week, but relatively speaking, not the worst red arrow. Arteta after Nketiah's hat-trick versus Sheffield. Nketiah's top level for me. He has played in 9-10 Prem matches, and this shows how I trust him. Yeah, that's true. I'm just saying it's a distinct possibility that can happen. Last season when Arsenal were struggling, you know, similar to now in terms of, you know, not looking as crisp in the attack, you know, they made that switch to Trossard and it worked out. But yeah, for me personally, I'd rather have Trossard playing down the middle than Nketiah. Against Burnley, it's not a big issue. But against Newcastle and these better teams, I'd rather go for Trossard. And ultimately, Jesus could be back fairly soon. Between Alvarez and Wilson, who do you fancy long-term? Still Alvarez. If I'm buying one now, though, it's Wilson. You know, so for the next 3-4 game weeks, it's Wilson. And then afterwards, I look to sell to Alvarez. Thank you very much. Without malice, I appreciate the kind words. A long-time viewer of the channel. Downgrade Watkins and sell Walker for Trent as a long-term asset. Who are you downgrading Watkins to? Is it Nketiah? Is it going to be Alvarez? Let me know. Yeah, I do like Trent, you know, as a punt, as a differential, but, you know, of course, it's kind of difficult for me to say this now with Tsimikas being benched, but if Tsimikas can start the vast majority of games whilst Robertson's out, I'd rather have Tsimikas than Trent. Sam says goalkeeper Johnston, Turner, Ash, Trippier, Tsimikas, Udogie, Kabore, Son, Maddison, Saka, Diaby, and Mbumo, Haaland, Alvarez, Watkins, wildcards still intact with 2 free transfers. What moves to make? Look, maybe my recommendations are a bit biased or clouded by my own transfer plans, but I would genuinely consider upgrading Turner to Raya or Johnston. I don't know what budget you have. I'm crying. I don't know what budget you have, but your midfield's absolutely fine, to be honest. You could consider diversifying a little bit. You know, you can go to Bowen, Maddison or Son to Bowen. Not necessary, though. Also, Gordon in. You know, you could maybe sell Mbumo to Gordon, then bring Mbumo back for Game Week 14 or 15 in for Diaby. So that's the way you could work it and navigate the fixtures if you wish. So that's just a suggestion. You have the 3 best forwards in the game, in my opinion. So yeah, I'd do Turner to Raya or Johnston, and I would consider doing Mbumo to Gordon and then getting Mbumo back in for Diaby around Game Week 14 or 15. And in terms of other moves you can make, I think defense could be a concern. You've got Cash, Trippier. Long term, you might be looking at selling Cash. Udogie might still be injured. Kabore is not the best option overall, despite his haul today. And Tsimikas, you know, there's question marks about him now after the benching today. So I think the defense could be an issue, your defensive line overall. But I think you could afford to, I think, go without making defender transfers for now. If Udogie is available tomorrow and he plays, even if he's on the bench, I just keep him and focus on your midfield transfers and your goalkeeper. Willock will play in midfield. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Yeah, Willock came on. Obviously, he was involved in the goal as well. Do you think Udogie will play tomorrow? I'd say yes, but I'm not that convinced. I said this last week, I was wrong, and just take my word at face value. It's not really, yeah, I don't have any kind of, let's say, inside knowledge there. I don't think Purvis will play versus Sheffield United, but long-term, great attacking potential. Fair enough. I would then have Trippier, Cash, Tsimikas, and Purvis. That looks good. Yeah, and I agree. I've also seen other Brighton fans say the same. You never know, though, with the Zerbi. He's a bit difficult to predict sometimes with rotation. Maybe he will play against Sheffield United, and then he's benched for Gameweek 13 instead. Newcastle midfielders are yellow card prone. Yeah, Gordon is quite a yellow card magnet, but hasn't gotten one, I think, since his suspension. And also, it's not just like the yellow cards. You know, he can still score goals and get assists, as he did yesterday. And also, he's been very consistent this season. Is there merit in selling Haaland and trying to match returns? There is merit. And there always has been since Gameweek 8, which I discussed. I almost wildcarded Haaland out of my team. In the end, I decided to keep him. I thought it was better to keep him in the long term. And it hasn't really paid off, to be honest. But yeah, there are definitely some debates, to be fair. The thing is, though, probably around Gameweek 16 onwards, there will be a frenzy towards getting him in for fixtures like Luton Town. That's for sure. But as you can see, in Gameweeks like today and this week, you know, it's difficult to say this, but generally speaking, no one is absolutely essential. Benrahma doesn't play. Paqueta plays left wing. Soucek is our best midfielder this season. James Ward-Prowse and Alvarez should start. Bowen is nailed, so it's hard to fit Kudus. Yeah, I mean, obviously you're a West Ham fan. You know it much more than me. Benrahma has played quite a few times, but yeah, I think you are spot on with that. And Paqueta as a left winger, of course, is a bit, I wouldn't say unorthodox, but for Brazil he plays as a left central midfielder, and for Lyon he also didn't play left wing necessarily. Soucek, yeah, that's fair enough. What I was surprised about was Soucek playing a more advanced role, whilst James Ward-Prowse, you know, became deeper. I didn't like that at all, and Ward-Prowse, you know, went from being a very underrated FPL option to just a very inconsistent one at that. I'm not keeping Wolves assets anymore. I'm angry at refs. Yeah, but Hwang Hee-chan is still decent at his price, and you know, I still like him, but Neto is a huge miss, of course. I don't feel tempted to sell Haaland just because I don't see much value in other strikers. Yeah, no, of course, you know, if you had a Harry Kane in the Premier League still, it's a different story, but that is not going to be the case. Boca are the only team I've seen throw seats at their own fans. Remember watching a riot in Argentina and was shocked when I was told they were throwing the seat from above. Yeah, look, I don't like Boca, to be honest. I'm not going to stick up for them, but if you actually saw what happened before the game, and I'm not justifying what they did there because I didn't see that, but I think it was in the beaches. It might have been Rio de Janeiro. I think the final was played in the Maracanã, but there were incidents where the Brazilian fans were attacking the Boca ones and the police literally just let them do it. So I don't think the Brazilian fans are exactly saints there as well. They're also, you know, quite culpable. Argentina fans in general, probably the most passion in the world, best atmosphere, but there's also a lot of ugly there, as you know, you just mentioned as well. 31 points with Son left to play. Yeah, good stuff. It sounds crazy to say that. 31 points, good stuff, but Son should or could turn that into 40 plus. In Brazil, they do steal the flag. Each group of torcida have the barrio flag, and the objective is to steal the other neighborhood's flag. What is this, Call of Duty? I don't know. Then you are tough, but they also scrap sometimes. Jesus Christ. 152, 463 people, triple captain Haaland. Your game, it could be worse, people. Yeah, I like that positivity. Oh, sorry, 152,463 people. Yeah, someone asked me in the deadline stream, and I said, look, it's a good chance, it's a good, you know, fixture, but I'm saving it for later. So I said I wouldn't do it myself, but it's not a bad idea. So hopefully that person didn't do it. In total, over 192,000 have pulled out the triple captainship. Yeah, in a game like this, that's why sometimes you just need luck to fall in your favour. Hopefully not Gary, but good luck with your team. My bench, 21 points. I missed my bench boost this week. Yeah, same. I got 20 points all out, even with no Turner. I know that's an FPL reaction stream, but what's your plan with Haaland and UCL Fantasy? That's a good question. You'll find out tomorrow my team selection, because my original plan was to make midfielder transfers and stuff like that. But now I might even wildcard because of it. Because it could also allow me to go elsewhere. I'm going to keep an eye out for updates. So I'm going to talk about it tomorrow. I'm going to wait as long as possible, probably until the Tuesday, to then finalise my wildcard or my transfer plans. But if it looks like Haaland is out for young boys, I'm probably looking to sell him to... What options could be available? I mean, Lewandowski is available now, but I don't think I'd go there. I think even Vinicius could be someone I'm looking at. So yeah, I'll talk about it tomorrow in the video, but Haaland will be a sell if we get any kind of rumours or murmurings of a benching there. Gordon's on 6 yellow cards. Yeah, okay, so I probably got that wrong. But 4 more until he gets another suspension. Gordon got a yellow card versus Arsenal. Oh, yeah, that's true. To be honest, I lost my head on that game, so I forgot. Yeah, he got a yellow card yesterday, but he's still a good option overall. Son left and benched Maddison for Bowen this week. Fingers crossed. Good luck. Wait, you benched Maddison this week? Jesus. Well, good luck. I'm hoping Maddison... Well, I'm not hoping he does well, but if there were... You know, if there was one player to do well for Spurs, it would be him for me. But yeah, good luck. What do you think about captaining an odd player next week? Well, I'm looking at Salah or Saka. They're not odd. They're going to be two of the most popular captaincy options, but I'm going to stick with my plan, my principles. You know, I think Haaland captains were very unlucky this week, and sometimes you just need that luck in your favour. Continue really thoughtful insight. I have 0.3 million in the bank, and I have Johnston thinking about going to Man United defence. I'd only like Man United defence for 2 game weeks, especially this week against Luton Town. I think they'll probably win 1 or 2-0. But beyond that, I'm not a big fan. What's your take to downgrade Alvarez to Nketiah? Kind of similar to the United kind of perspective there. I like Nketiah for 1 week, but beyond that, I think Alvarez is a far better option. Are the Wolves defenders good to target? I think Ait Nouri, as someone rightly mentioned, a few people did actually, you know, out of position, but I'm not a big fan of those fixtures. I only see 1 clean sheet, and that's against Burnley at home. I think the others are probably going to be goals conceded there. Benrahma has only 1 league start this season. That's the game Paqueta was suspended. Paqueta's been playing left wing as more of a wide playmaker role. Yeah, that is true. With Benrahma, though, I mean, I remember the time when him and Antonio were absolutely amazing in the first 3 game weeks, how times change. I think Benrahma's a weird one. He's very talented on the ball, but I don't know. It's just like one of those players who are very inconsistent. I mean, you let me know what you think, but I think West Ham's best team would be Soucek and Alvarez in the defensive midfield role, Ward-Prowse, Kudus, Paqueta, and Bowen up front. That would be my team, you know, at least from the midfield up, but Moyes knows best. Will Chelsea keep a clean sheet tomorrow? Definitely not. If that happens, Spurs probably bottled it then, because Spurs are the much better team. They're in form. They're going to score tomorrow, surely. What defenders would you bring in if Burn and Cash are out, have Tsimikas and Mitchell? Good question. I'd still look at Gabriel Saliba. I like them long term. Good chance for clean sheet against Burnley. Apart from them, I think... well, you've got Mitchell already, actually. Maybe for a 1 week punt, Maguire, Wan-Bissaka, these sorts of options are decent, but yeah, long term, I look at an Arsenal defender. I bench Lascelles too. Yeah, and Archer in my case. Some people bench Kabore, Mikalenko, you know, the list goes on. Hi, Dylan. If Dogi misses out tomorrow, Kabore will come on for me. Is it likely to happen? I want to say it's likely, but it's possible. It's almost 50-50. So you got to hope for it. You got to hope for it, mate. 12 points with Son, Maddison, and Bodro to play. Yeah, you should be fine. I think you'll get 25 to 30 points, I think. Are the Wolves defenders good to target? We've covered. What is this, Call of Duty? Yeah, I don't know. Sorry, it sounded disrespectful. Just my natural reaction. Fact says 38 points with Son and Bodro. Guess I'm ending at 42 points. That's not too bad, though. I mean, I'd take that. 42 points in a week like this is gold. I'm pretty convinced you'll get more than that. Sell Maddison to get sacked in Game Week 12, says Kuka. Already have Son and Nketiah. Yeah, I'd be inclined to do so. The thing is, though, Maddison does play Wolves away next. Hasn't blanked away from home so far this season. I would expect Spurs to win that, probably another 2-0, or at least to score 2+ goals. So, yeah. I used to go to the Maracanã every Flamengo home game back when I lived in Brazil. The atmosphere in the Norte was incredible. Yeah, Maracanã is one of my favourite stadiums. Obviously, Argentina played a few finals there. The World Cup final, the Copa America final. So kind of mixed emotions there, but Maracanã is one of the world-famous stadiums. My team is so strong that I had no option than to bench Maddison. What do you think about captaining defenders? Still not a big fan. The only defender I'd look to captain is Trippier in certain weeks like Bournemouth. You know, I think that's a good one. Good shout. But I think most weeks, even when Trippier has a plum fixture, you've got Haaland or Salah with amazing fixtures, and that's what makes it so difficult. I'd be more inclined to do it in UCL Fantasy than FPL. Yeah, I agree with Benrahma. He's always shown moments of quality, but struggles with consistency and has a tendency to not track back much. Yeah, there's a lot of players like that. You know, maybe the kind of Tarap mold, you know, different circumstances, of course. But yeah, obviously, very, very technically gifted. Maybe doesn't have the mentality to do it consistently. I felt for you yesterday, Dylan, in the game. I've had that, like when Cheered versus Spurs, yeah. Sometimes feel like corruption. Simon van der Beek crossed the ball out of bounds for a goal that stood. Yeah, look, there's so many examples. That's why I'm not going to say it's just Arsenal. Brighton, Wolves. Look at Wolves against Man United. Look at them against Sheffield United yesterday, even a few weeks ago, last week against Newcastle. You've got to question these things. With Moyes likely to play extremely defensive, Benrahma's reluctance to track back always makes him likely to fall into Moyes' bad books. Yeah, I remember last season, or even earlier, I think it was last season, where Benrahma was playing well, and people kept saying that Moyes doesn't play him enough and that he should, but he was always subbed out early, around 60, 70 minutes. Correct me if I'm wrong, of course, but yeah, I remember that sort of rhetoric being spoken about. I was referring to a Boca game at the home stadium back in 2013-14. Fair enough, fair enough. Newcastle made it more like a WWE match on a football field. Yeah, I mean, how Bruno Guimaraes wasn't red carded, I mean, it isn't beyond me. I'm not surprised by the officials', lack of competence, but yeah, even Wilson, made several yellow card challenges. Dan Burn, touching the ref, also making 2 or 3 challenges on Saka, but it is what it is. That's the Premier League and the officiating. Best captain between Saka and Watkins. Between those two, I mean, Watkins is a good shout against Fulham, and Villa have the best home record. I'd be more inclined towards Saka. My current captain is Salah, and my vice is Saka. Ultimately, maybe don't captain who I do, and you'll be fine, but they're both good options. I'd be inclined to go for Saka. 31 points with Son. Yeah, good stuff. Hey, how are you, Dylan? All good. What about you? Fact says, I'm not sure if VAR is making football better or worse. What was that subjective offside for McTominay, and Gordon's goal was good FPL-wise, but that was just disgusting. I think VAR is... Look, sometimes it is necessary. For example, Arsenal against West Ham, in my opinion, the goal should have been disallowed because there was a shirt pull on Ramsdale, and VAR could have intervened there and disallowed it. But then there's scenarios like yesterday where they still have the technology, there's 3 or 4 incidents in one goal, and they still don't disallow it when it probably should have. So I think the problem is the people behind VAR, not the VAR itself. If Maddison and Son fail to deliver, I'll be absolutely finished. Anderson, the only player of return. It's just one of those weeks, isn't it, mate? I mean, what returns do I have? It's Anderson and Bowen. It's just an absolutely terrible week. And the other returns are on my bench. You just got to laugh it off. Who would you captain and vice captain? From my own team, as I said, I'm currently leaning towards Salah captain and Saka vice. Is Bowen a good captain for Gameweek 13? For Gameweek 13? Okay, so wait, the week after next. Yeah, I think he's a decent option. I actually referenced Bowen a few weeks ago, and I, bookmarked this fixture against Burnley because the likes of Mbumo did really well, double-digit returns, Sterling too, even at Turf Moor, Heung-min Son, and it's generally those players on the right who really thrive against Burnley. So I think that's a great shout, actually, looking ahead to Gameweek 13. Not a bad one either in Gameweek 12. FPL can cause some stress, but it's a game. It's nice to have a distraction from everything happening. Yeah, I completely agree. Obviously, when you do well, you kind of enjoy it. Everything's good, but yeah, I mean, I generally start better than this. I always am a bit of a slow start in FPL, but I think this time last year, I was well within the top 200k, 400k. I'd have to double check just to kind of compare it. Have you ever rolled your transfers for 5+ game weeks? No, definitely not. Back in the day when I first started, when I just knew nothing about it, and sometimes I missed deadlines, I basically took like multiple hits whenever I was active in the game. 5+ weeks is impossible for me. Saka's been looking awful, by the way. I think awful by his standards, and maybe I'm biased, but I think it's down to a number of reasons. So as I mentioned before, Jesus not being there, I think that's a massive downgrade to Nketiah, who can't hold the ball up, can't link up with Martinelli and Saka. I also think the midfield balance isn't quite right, especially with Jorginho and Havertz, which was a very big cause for concern when I saw the lineup. There's also no Thomas Partey and Odegaard. Odegaard, of course, links up very well with Saka and Ben White on the right-hand side, and Partey is the one who finds these players in between the lines, and I think Odegaard generally is a better option and does very well with Partey right behind him. And I also think Arteta has a kind of change in the approach. I think they're trying to control games more, and leave things less to chance and chaos, like last season where Arsenal started games very quickly and, showed a lot of energy, high pressing, and then they would concede sloppy goals at the back. So it kind of goes both ways. I don't think Saka's been awful, but he has been underwhelming in the last couple of games. The officials we have are so bad, but it's not a surprise. Look at the fools we have in Parliament across all parties. Yeah, exactly that. Sometimes you could say the answer is not to vote, for example. And with referees, I mean, ideally you'd get rid of all of them, start from the ground up, And also, if the Premier League can get the best managers in the world, best players, best clubs, why can't they import the best referees from other countries? I mean, you got to think about that as well. The Gameweek 13 captain defender. In a week with shaky attackers, you captain the defender. That's what I do, at least. I mean, not a bad shout, to be fair. It isn't a bad shout. I do like Burn, though, as a choice in Gameweek 13, but my full focus is on Gameweek 12 right now. I'll take it one week at a time. I don't want to think about Gameweek 13 too much yet. Only have an idea of the players I could sell, which is going to mainly be the Aston Villa players there. I'm feeling bad for those people who took multiple hits to bring back Haaland and captain him. Yeah, there were some people who did -4s and -8s, and they look good on paper. But with the sort of week we had, it ended up being a disaster in most scenarios. I've not taken one hit yet this year. That's impressive. I've only taken 2, I think, so I've taken -8 hits so far. I've been very conservative compared to how I used to be. For anyone feeling bad, I'm on 11 points. But you've got 3 Spurs players left. That could easily turn into 30 plus. So, by this time tomorrow, you could be looking at a green arrow and a happy smile on your face. When Jesus was injured last season, Trossard chipped in. Yeah, exactly. That's why I'd like to see that. And also, Arsenal's best winning streak last season, 7 wins in a row, came with Trossard starting every single game. This is my first season, and I have taken -250 transfer hits this season. Jesus. That's a lot, man. That is a lot. Wow. When City blanks, are you planning on a free hit or benching your City assets? Well, I've only got Haaland, so I think I'm just going to bench, or maybe just sell Haaland, have 2 free transfer 18, sell him, then bring him back for 19 for a hit. I think that could be my play. I might just about dribble over the 700 mark tonight, says Twisted Parky. That's not too bad, mate. I wish I had that, so good luck. Definitely UCL Fantasy. I mean, for one, I typically do better in UCL Fantasy, but what I mainly like about that game is that there's a lot more difference in teams. When I look at my mini leagues, for example, or a lot of teams on Twitter, Instagram, people who put their teams in the live chats in FPL, a lot of teams are so similar. And in UCL Fantasy, you've got so many different options. People say, oh, what about Santiago Jimenez from Feyenoord? What about Griezmann, Morata? There's so many different options, especially in the forward line, that it makes it so much more fun. You've also got the different captaincy options. You've got the Tuesday and Wednesday. You can change it. So you can afford to go for a bit more of a punt in your first captaincy choice. But here in FPL, it's probably just Haaland or Salah. I keep mixing their names. Arsenal not used Trossard enough. To be honest, though, Trossard, whenever he started, and that includes West Ham in the Carabao Cup, against Fulham, I think, earlier in the season, he just doesn't start games well. He just doesn't start them well. He does really well off the bench, making an impact, but for some reason, he can't replicate those performances when he starts. Having said that, he's played as a left winger and as a left central midfielder this season. When he's played down the middle, at least last season, he was really good. He did play against Fulham. He started the game and he was playing as a false 9. He was subbed off at half-time. But I think maybe with more time, I think he could do really well in that role. Best formation? I mean, I don't think formation is that important. It's all about it. I mean, look, my personal preference is 3-5-2, but you can also do a 3-4-3. Ultimately, that's kind of what I look to strive towards, but I don't think there's necessarily a right or wrong or a best formation. Mark Castley says, hi, thoughts on bringing in Saka and Palmer for Maddison and Hwang in Gameweek 12 for a -4. I'm not completely against that. I like that Saka move, but I wouldn't really buy Palmer until Chelsea's fixtures turn for the better. Oddly enough, maybe in these more difficult games, him playing as the false 9, being on penalties, he could do better in games against Man City and Spurs than he would against Brentford at home. But selling Maddison and Hwang for a hit, that's where I'd probably say no, in my opinion, as good as Saka is. That was the perfect week to bench boost, Dylan. Yeah, it would have been a good bench boost, of course. I've had worse, but yeah, in a double game week, I could outscore that, I think. How can Havertz start over Trossard week in, week out? Yeah, look, I keep saying this, and maybe I'm being a fool. I do think Havertz could work out in the long term, but it's not looking great every single week. He has shown a bit more intensity in the last couple of games, but I still need more from him in terms of creativity, goal scoring, and also with Havertz, I think he's actually better, up top, because at least he can hold up the play, unlike Nketiah. What I wanted to see yesterday was maybe Havertz up top or Trossard, and then you could have a midfield three of Jorginho, Zinchenko even as the left central midfielder, and, well, of course, Odegaard, but unfortunately he was injured. But yeah, Rice for me, at least, has been a revelation. He's even better than I thought. Unfortunately, doesn't have the midfield to really get the absolute best out of him, or maybe the midfield he deserves. If anyone is feeling dumb about taking hits, I went -4 for Hannibal when he first started getting game time. Well, maybe you're a United fan and you wanted to go for a Man United player, so trust me, I've done much worse than that. Yeah, I feel the same about UCL. I also like bench changes very much. Yeah, 3 years in a row, ended up top 500. That's great. Now top 1,000 with wildcard and limitless left to play. Yeah, I've got a good record in UCL fantasy, and my rank right now isn't great, but I did get a great green arrow this week, so I'm happy with it. But yeah, I used my limitless. That was a disaster. Got more points with my non-limitless team without making any transfers, but there you go. Give Trussell a run of games and he will do well. I agree. No, I completely agree. That also plays a part in why he doesn't start games particularly well. What are your thoughts on Havertz's 4 yellow cards? Yeah, I think he'll get suspended very soon. You know, probably within the next 2 or 3 games he'll get a yellow card and he's out for the next one. I just hope for Odegaard, Partey to return soon and Jesus. That'd be massive. Hopefully Timber is back in January, which is what's being touted. But there's always injuries, you know, throughout the season. But I just don't want to see Havertz start at the moment, especially in the midfield. Don't get me wrong, I think there's a player in there of Havertz, but the performances should bring about rotation. To be fair, though, he hasn't started recently, and I think he only did in this game because Odegaard missed out. It probably would have been Jorginho, Odegaard, and Rice. But yeah, why not Zinchenko left central midfield as well? I think that could also bring out the best of him. I have Alvarez. Would you keep him long term? Long term, I think he is a hold. Yes, I think he'll do well. But there is a debate and an argument to sell him now and then bring him back from 16 onwards. That's for sure. If I had him, I think I would keep. Why in FPL it says Saka's a midfielder, but in lineups in Premier League it says Saka's a forward? Well, he plays as the right winger. What about Salah? I think that's an even bigger example because, you know, technically, at times he plays as a striker for Liverpool, and yet he's classed as a midfielder. So yeah, it's always been the case like this with FPL. Saka will still be a midfielder next season unless FPL drastically change their positional system. FPL side, although Luton deserved the result today, would you agree that of all Liverpool players, Diaz getting the equaliser was the most deserving? Love the sportsmanship after the match. I didn't see the sportsmanship after. I actually said to my mates in the group chat, you know, apart from Tsimikas, who's in my team, and I wanted points from him, if there's any player that I wouldn't mind scoring for Liverpool, it'd be Diaz. I said that myself, even though I don't have him. And I actually talked about selling Diaz very recently. I think maybe in the last transfers video, unfortunately. But yeah, it's good to see, of course. Hopefully his personal situation is resolved. And I think overall, Liverpool would take that, considering they were losing in the 95th minute. And Luton Town will be very happy with that result as well. It's a real confidence booster. And of course, Diaz scored. So I think overall, most people are happy, although maybe some Liverpool fans will disagree there. Give Haaland one more game against Luton or get rid? Well, it's always tempted to keep someone for Luton. But it's worth mentioning United don't score enough goals, and a lot of their wins are very narrow, and maybe you won't call it luck. You always need a bit of luck to win games, but you know they always win games by fine margins. I'd probably expect them to win 2-0. Haaland has to score eventually, and I can see why you're thinking that. I probably would keep him for Luton, then sell him afterwards. Too risky to sell Haaland now? I don't think you have to keep him, let me put it that way, but I think if he's fit, which I'm assuming he will be, he's a keep for now. And for those that don't have Haaland, I'd go without him for a few more weeks, probably until 16 onwards. As a Liverpool fan, I must say Luton's defence was way better than United's defence this season, no hate. Yeah, and Luton haven't lost a game at home in the Premier League by more than 1 goal this season. That's another reason why I captain Haaland over Salah too. What about if Alexis scores just Twisted Parky? I mean, I like Alexis personally, but I mean, yeah, I wouldn't mind that. You know, I would have rather he scored than Salah or Darwin, that's for sure. So yeah, apart from those 3 players, I mean, I wouldn't want anyone else to score. Yeah, it probably will, Pranav. Yeah, I would assume so. After that disappointing return with the captaincy, the yellow flag, Chelsea and some poor fixtures up until 16, yeah, I think his ownership will go down probably to 80%. Luton Town were brilliant, enjoyed watching their fight and seeing the game played in a shabby working class grassroots looking stadium. Yeah, everyone loves an underdog, you could argue, and especially Arsenal fans, Man City, Spurs. You know, I think a lot of them were just hoping for a miracle, and it did happen technically, but you got to give Luton Town credit. They also gave Spurs a game, although the red card changed the match too. But yeah, I think Luton Town showed a lot of spirit. I know the number of goals United have is a wonder they are that high in the league. Yeah, they have some good fixtures, you know, in the next 2, but ultimately, it's not sustainable. It really isn't. And in terms of the Champions League spot, they can forget about it if they don't seriously improve. I felt the same. Huge kudos to Luton and wanted them to win in a weird way. But Luis Diaz's undershirt brought me to tears. Yeah. Oh yeah, you support Liverpool, don't you? So yeah. I mean, to be honest, yeah. If it was my team, I wouldn't have cared about that Luton Town underdog stuff. I'd want to destroy them. But I understand your perspective. Do we think Doku is an option now? Decent minutes in the last few game weeks. Yeah, but I still don't trust it. I don't trust Pep. I mean, look at Foden this week. When a lot of people bought him, I was so close to doing it. And he's benched, limited to a 6-pointer. So, yeah, Doku is explosive, as we saw yesterday. But I don't know. I had him in UCL Fantasy, still have him. And he's been so frustrating for me there. His only return came when I limitlessed him out in match day 2. Yeah, he's an option. He's someone to consider, but he's not someone I'd go out of my way to buy. I think there are definitely better midfielders out there. Bowen, Mbumo long term, even Kudus potentially, Saka, Heung-min Son, Maddison. There's a lot of midfielders I'd rather go to than Doku. Is it over for Turner now? I think so. And a clean sheet against Aston Villa? Yeah, I just don't see him coming back in anytime soon. Pickford, Turner, Trippier, Lascelles, Gabriel, Pinnock, Baldock, Saka, Salah, Son, Diaby, Palmer, Archer, Alvarez, Haaland, 200k rank. Good stuff. 2 free transfers wildcard. Who should I bring in? I would consider making a goalkeeper switch. Probably Pickford to Raya or Johnston would be my preference. Your defence could be a bit light. I mean, Trippier and Lascelles are absolutely fine. Gabriel too, but maybe Pinnock, especially with Arsenal and Liverpool up next. Yeah, I would consider selling Pinnock as well. Your midfield is absolutely fine. Your forward line too. As a 1-week punt, I would consider Alvarez to Nketiah. But yeah, I'd mainly look at the defence and goalkeeper. Never trust Pep. He may even play Edison. Yeah, I completely agree. I wouldn't trust Pep at all. And that's another reason why I didn't go for Foden in the end. Cheers, mate. I'm considering Kudus personally, says Adam. I appreciate that. As a West Ham fan said earlier, though, he is not completely nailed. I think he could be spot on about that. I personally think he will start with his form, and I think he's one of West Ham's best players, most talented for sure. Count Doku has lost the number 1 in the game week. Lol, says Twisted Parky. My front 8 is Salah, Son, Maddison, Hwang, Anderson, Haaland, Watkins, Alvarez. Any tips on who to bring in? I mean, I would consider one of Son or Maddison to Saka. Not ideal, but I would consider diversifying your attack a little bit. And the other one is potentially Alvarez to Nketiah. So one of those transfers for sure. Depending on how much money you have in the bank, I think Anderson to Gordon would be perfect. I think that's probably the best move you can make. And yeah, Count Doku must be gutted, That was his week where he could rep his guy, get the triple captaincy points. But look, I mean, he got 100 points or something like that, so he's still laughing. Yeah, I'll be honest, it's kind of lost track of the time. It's been 2 hours, just on half a marathon since it started. Yeah, I definitely need to do a few marathons. There's no hurry with Doku. City fixtures allow you to watch him for now. Yeah, I completely agree. And I also don't think his starts will be consistent, especially with the Champions League as well. Thank you, Fitz. Let me know what you end up doing in the deadline stream on Saturday? Yeah, Saturday. Off topic, Sweden and UK abstained from a vote on UN resolution calling for humanitarian truce and aid to Gaza. US voted against. Says it all, really, doesn't it? It's not really in people's interests, it looks like, to vote for world peace. But yeah, there you go. I'm ashamed of our government here in Sweden. This is unprecedented. Yeah, trust me, you ask any British person as well, they're also ashamed of their government. It's kind of a worldwide thing. I can't think of one good government, really, in the world. Pranav puts his team. 1 free transfer. Any suggestions? Midfield is absolutely fine. I like it. Your forward line also is spot on, considering no Haaland. If possible, I would upgrade Turner to Johnston or Raya. I think that's the best thing to do in your situation. Your most valuable wing-back FPL-wise, regardless of price. Well, the best, if I can say he's a wing-back, is a full-back. Trippier, for me, is by far the best. Yeah, I think he's the one. Apart from him, I like Trent still, although Tsimikas would be my preference if he starts most games. Trippier has to be the best defender, though, and the best full-back. You probably need to take a break, Dylan. Yeah, on Tuesday, there'll be a deadline stream running from 4:30 p.m. No, from 3:30 p.m. UK time Also tomorrow I'll be recording the team selection video and talking about the best Haaland replacements or what to do with Haaland, my transfer plans, am I going to wildcard? There's a lot to cover there. And there's also the best wildcard and limitless team videos out already for matchday 4. Yeah, Tuesday night, I will be there. Hopefully you lot will be too. Thank you very much for watching this stream. If you enjoyed it or found it useful, be sure to smash the like button and subscribe if you're new. Let's try to get this stream to over 150 likes. It'd be massively appreciated. We've answered hundreds of questions today, and we've been streaming for over 2 hours. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram, DylanRCM, and I'd encourage you to check all the other links in the description below for the Patreon, Championships Discord server, and the FPL League. Also check out the UCL Fantasy League in the UCL Fantasy videos. So yeah, we are around 26 likes away from 100, so be sure to smash the like button. It'd be greatly appreciated. Huge shout out goes to the channel members, patrons, and those that send in a super chat. Thank you, Mikey Slices. You're one of them. I appreciate it. I accidentally turned on Limitless 2 weeks before and forgot that it lost on the chip. Oh yeah. I mean, to be honest, I knew I had the Limitless on in matchday 2 and it was a disaster anyway. I will never ever vote Labour or Tory again, Liberal Democrats or any of the others with what they offer. This is all happening for the interests of the West. I hope you all a safe day. Thank you very much, mate. Likewise. Yeah, I was even considering Green Party, but I mean, to be honest, you can't trust anyone. You know, that's something we all learn over time. Thank you, Safair. Big up to you as well. Stay safe, Twister Parky. Yeah, Safair, thank you very much. Dylan, choose my protein shake flavor, peach tea or raspberry lemonade. I'd go for I'd probably go for peach tea. I don't know, that's my gut feeling, but if my protein shake flavor decisions are as bad as my captaincy, you're in a world of trouble. On that note, thank you very much to everyone watching. I wish you all the best of luck for FPL and UCL Fantasy. Let's see what happens tomorrow between Spurs and Chelsea in that huge London clash. And of course, be sure to tune in for the Matchday 4 content for UCL Fantasy.